Welcome to AsobiFM. I'm your host Shinden, and for today we are going to be discussing Thank You for Your Fan Service. I have a guest with me today, a longtime friend. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Sean.
Hi, Sean. All right, so
great start. I said great start.
Yeah, no. It's always going to be a great start. So, first off, I'd like to give you the floor. You can introduce yourself.
So I'm Sean. I'm a veteran of the United States Air Force. Spent 8 years active duty, stationed everywhere from South Carolina to South Korea. Been friends here with Craig for a long time. We even well before military, obviously, all the way back to I think elementary school or something like that.
Yeah.
And I came out here to just talk anime, I guess.
All right. So, let's just start off by what are you watching recently? I know you mentioned Bunny Girl Senpai, which is absolutely one of my top 5s of all time.
It's a very, very good series. Like I said, I'm only like 4 episodes in. Unfortunately, I've been sick for the past couple days, so I've been kind of taking a break from trying to watch anything, just sleeping. Another big show that I've been watching has been probably, let's see, Fire Force has definitely been one of the big ones. I very, very much have been enjoying that. Another big one is Recovery of an MMO Junkie. I just finished that up here a couple weeks ago. That one was very good as well.
Nice. That one was another one of those, like, I really like that one too. There was a whole bunch of there were a few issues with the director of that. He had some sort of social media presence that got kind of controversial a while back. I actually talked with him on Twitter a lot, and the thing is, he knows a bit of English, but he doesn't know, like, native English. So anybody who seemed even remotely willing to translate something for him, he ended up going after them. And I had a chat log going back for a long time on Twitter with him. But yeah, I'm super excited that you're actually watching Bunny Girl Senpai, because that instantly just, like, really made the 2018 entire year for me. Honestly, it was that and SSS Gridman were the two really big things from that year that I just, like, I really enjoyed those. But so
I think probably one of the big problems is a lot of these shows when they first come out, even if I know it's a really, really good show, I have a tendency to wait to watch it.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, obviously, Bunny Girl Senpai is not the only one. One of the big ones, at least from this past year, was the Rising of the Shield Hero. I still haven't even started that, despite the fact that everybody was like, oh, yeah, this is great.
No, it is pretty good, but that's the whole thing, is that with seasonal anime... Sorry, with seasonal anime, you can really start to, like, lose track of a lot of stuff unless you have, like, an extreme want to actually watch something. So keeping up with seasonal anime can sometimes you skip a week and then you skip another week and then suddenly you have a backlog. You have like 3 hours of anime to catch up on, and you only have one night to do it in a week, and that's where it starts to become an issue. But having a list of things that you're going to get around to usually works out really well. Unfortunately, that also means that you end up like not watching things that other people recommend to you and stuff, and I know that feeling. I know how it feels to just like have an entire backlog of stuff, and even though somebody's really, really trying to get me to watch something, it can get very difficult to actually get around to it, even if it's a really good thing and I should have watched it. But your model of waiting until something passes and then like observing the hype and then like deciding to go in on it on your own, I think that ends up being a lot more successful for a lot of people.
I did the same thing as well with the Ray Zero back when it was coming out. And was that 2018 that show was, when that show was? I can't remember.
I think ReZero was like 2016, 2017. I forget.
I'm a little off on my time. What year is this?
I think it's Reiwa 2.
I believe so. I could be wrong. I don't know.
No, it is Reiwa 2. It's you might be the same way with years, the same way I am with my age, because occasionally I'll just forget, and I'll remember like how much older or younger I am than friends, and then I'll ask them how old they are, and then do the math in my head to figure out, oh yeah, I'm 20 something. So
yeah, no, I'm the same way, but then again, math is hard. I know this, especially with my crew chief. I can't count to save my life. 1, 2 fish, right?
I mean, how many engines does an F-16 have?
Hold on, let me take off my shoes. It helps me count.
Ugh.
So, my question for you, I know that you had a couple of recommendations that you gave to me back a couple days ago, including what was it? What was that one that you suggested? The keep your hands off. Oh no! Don't start the show. Sorry, I have my tablet open as well, and I'm trying to pull it up and look at the information on it, but for some reason, oh, never mind.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, keep your hands off Azuken. Sorry,
Azuken. Yeah, keep your hands off Azuken.
Awful.
Which it's really funny looking at people do like ask, oh, what anime is this from? And then they respond, keep your hands off Azuken, and it's like, geez, I'm sorry, I just wanted to know what anime it was. I'll keep my hands off of it. It's the whole who's on first kind of deal, you know?
Yeah. So I know that one you recommended it, and you said that you liked the first episode on it. Was there a couple of other series? Because I know the new season of Yudu Camp is also coming up, which I'm very much looking forward to. Such amazing.
I actually haven't finished the first season of Yudu Camp, so
really,
I'm a little bit behind. I keep on meaning to do this, but I need to actually watch through the first season of Girls und Panzer. The whole thing back then, like when it first came out, because I was trying to watch it when it first came out, and this is when I actually started to have issues with the streaming service I was using, because that episode would skip. It was like 2 frames per second for some reason on just the first episode of that.
That's annoying.
Yeah. And I had a really, really shitty laptop, so even when I tried to torrent it would just start skipping again. So I don't know whether it was the streaming service I was using or my laptop just sucked, but other episodes of other things worked fine. But Eurocamp. Was there something else that I recommended to you? I think Azuken was like the major one, because that's like one of the only things I'm watching this season.
Well, unfortunately, I haven't started that, and every time that I've been, because I've been trying to go on a Crunchyroll, and I've been trying to watch, but unfortunately, there's a lot of them that aren't working for me right now, and it could just be that I'm logged into like 4 different devices at the same time and it keeps getting confused. Could just be that. Let's see. Because there was another series that I had just finished up here back this past week. Here it is. Yeah, the Invaders of Joma. Sorry, again, my pronunciation is terrible. Not something I would recommend, honestly.
Is there a specific reason why?
It honestly kind of reminded me of like the late 90s harem animes that would start, like the wave of those that came out back then. It's along the same line, and it's also trying to be like a gaming kind of show as well. And I lost interest very, very quickly.
All right, fair enough. So I'll just get back to Izoken real quick here. Do you remember what we used to do in middle school on the bus? Aside from harassing the bus driver?
Yes, I remember this.
It's pretty much the show is shaping up to be just that, but with like a little bit more of a creative bend to it. And they're actually like gearing up to go pro on it seems. So just like,
hey, you know what, that sounds good to me.
They just the two of them like do this thing where they start spitballing ideas for a storyline for an anime, and then they just end up like delving into it so much that it's like they start to live what they're creating. And the main character, Midori, she is just literally me. She's the shortest of the people in her friends group. She wears camo all the time. She hates going into crowds. She's only good at set design and mechanical design. So that's pretty much. I identify with this girl on a spiritual level.
Yeah, that sounds pretty accurate. I wouldn't say shortest, but
maybe. Yeah. I started to notice that I'm not as tall as a lot of males in the United States over the past few years, but
it's overrated.
That's made Japan all that much better to me, honestly, because I will go into a store, I will buy a medium t-shirt and it fits me. I will go into a small shop and I don't hit my head on the ceiling, unlike pretty much every other male foreigner that I encountered. I am
the reason why I fit him in Korea so much. I understand completely.
And I felt the pain of ordering a pint of Guinness and having to put down almost $10 for it.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, and I know exactly how you feel. It was same thing on the weekends in Songtan.
It
got very, very expensive.
Yeah, it didn't prevent you from buying how many over the course of your time there?
532.
Okay. Yeah, that's you could put a down payment on a new car or buy a pretty decent used car for that here. So.
It's overrated too.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good time anyway.
Yeah,
that was over the course of 3 years, I should specify, before somebody's like, my God, how long was he there for and spent that much money or drank that much?
Actually, I think I told you this already, but I'm actually planning out a return trip to Japan in May with Kim.
Sounds lovely.
Yeah, it's something I'm really looking forward to. Honestly, just like, if anybody is listening to this and thinking like, oh, how can he afford to go on 2 trips to Japan? Well, first of all, I can't. Well, I can, but the situation is I have to make a lot of sacrifices in my day-to-day life in order to do that. I've been saving up pretty much since I came back from Japan. But first of all, I am at the point in my life where I really should be looking at buying a house, and then I want to stay around this area because all of my family and my entire life has been around here. And if I want to move out of New England, I want to make a major move. And I'm
Just don't go to New Mexico.
Oh no.
Whatever you do.
Oh, you've offered though.
Yeah, I did, and I know that was certain circumstances that I guess won't go into the details of, at least now or whatever, but that was, and it was genuine. Unfortunately, there's thank you, Bill, for calling me right now. You can wait. I'm such a professional, aren't I?
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, and obviously that was and that was one of those last minute, like, well, this will work if necessary kind of thing.
But I shouldn't be complaining too much. I'm in a moderately good position. I'm just getting kind of I don't know what the term is for it, but I'm just like, I have a severe sense of ennui, and like I want to start doing more things with my life, because I'm just like, I'm approaching my late 20s at this point, and I'm like, I saw myself doing a little bit better than this. But
yeah, no, same here.
No, here's the thing, you've been pretty much all over the world, so I'd say that you're well ahead of me in that regard. But
yeah, a lot of those places, though. Well, I can't complain about anywhere that I've been without going into details on some of it. But one of the big things was being able to get to either Asia or Europe. It was obviously on the military's dime, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I did at least get to accomplish that. I just wish that when I was over in Korea that I actually took the time to hop a quick flight over to Japan and go travel around. But I think the fact that I'm terrible with languages, I mean, I can barely speak English to save my life, never mind any of the other ones. I think that was probably one of the biggest setbacks for me doing a little bit more traveling around Asia when I was over.
Oh yeah, that's the whole thing. Like, I could do Japan on my own, and the reason for that is because, like, for the past 10 years I've been, or probably longer, 10 years, like 15, 16 years, yeah, jeez,
something like that.
I've been like casually learning Japanese, and I got off the plane thinking like, oh, everybody's gonna be able to speak English just like everybody told me they would, or they're going to try to speak English with me whenever they can have the opportunity to. And it ended up being that they didn't do that at all. But the whole thing was like, I get off the plane and I'm like, I have two options. I can either communicate in a language that I have hardly spoken out loud before and communicated in before, or I could not communicate. And I ended up getting by extremely well, and I was kind of shocked at how well it went.
So they like, obviously you're much better when it comes to language than I am, but they didn't have too much trouble with understanding you with.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, there were some touch and go situations, but I was able to definitely be able to have I could do transactions and things at stores very easily. I could make a little bit of small talk with some people, and unfortunately I couldn't carry on like a full-on conversation, but we ended up using Google Translate for each other, and the thing was,
definitely been there.
Most of the Japanese people I met, I knew more Japanese than they knew English. And, like, the whole thing was, I understand, like, this weird kid comes up to you and asks you if you know any English, and then you say no, and then you think, oh, so the conversation is going to stop here, right? Like, no, I want to buy that thing that's on that shelf over there. I need to communicate with you. So, and I didn't want to make anybody uncomfortable, so I just tried my hardest to actually communicate with them, and I got by very, very well on that regard. I'm not like bragging about it or anything like that, but it was, it really opened my eyes, and I felt a lot more comfortable than I expected that I would be.
So I wish I had spent more time doing a little bit more language study. It doesn't matter where it is that I ended up going, just being able to learn a little bit of at least a little bit of languages of places that I want to travel to. Obviously, this isn't much of a problem for like if I ever travel over to Ireland, although they speak a whole new brand of English that's very, very fun that you and I both know very well.
Yeah, that's.
But sorry, but like I was saying, going back over to like over in Korea, I wish that I had spent a little bit more time learning the language because I did so much traveling around that country that I thought that I probably would have picked it up a little bit better, but boy, was I wrong.
But yeah, that it's exciting, and it's a good thing to actually start to learn a different language, and it's very rewarding once you're actually able to communicate with people. But even if you're just like, I'd imagine it's similar in Korea, but I'd imagine that they were just like very happy that you were even attempting to communicate with them in their language.
Yes, very much so.
But
especially a lot of the folks that I talked to over there that were like, even like I would try to have full on conversations with folks, them speaking no English, me speaking no Korean, which was always fun. But the very little bit that I would know, they were always very appreciative. They're like, there's a lot of people that would come over here to this country from whatever nation it is that they're from, not just necessarily the United States, and be like, you would at least try.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
And that's, I can imagine that you underwent the same thing that I went through, is that I know there's a stereotype behind the idea of me being an American, and I can imagine it especially affected you because you were in an area around a military base. So they have an idea, and depending on whether they were accustomed to speaking to people like you or not, they might have a negative view or they might have a more nuanced view, bending on positive. And like, I tried to fight against that kind of stereotype of Doko is the train station eki, and like kind of just like stopping, like attempting to actually communicate with somebody, or even just like speaking English right to their face without even attempting to like speak in Japanese. And that was something that I actually experienced because most of the foreigners that I met in Japan weren't from the US. Most of the the closest to Americans that I encountered were Canadians. And I was mistaken for a Canadian on a few occasions, even by Canadians, which was fun. But
it's because you're very polite. I think that's what it is.
It's because I'm polite. I am mostly Scottish and French, and I say sorry very strangely.
No, sorry about that.
Sorry. But yeah, even when I was speaking to foreigners, I noticed that a lot of the time, the only language we would have in common was like a bit of Japanese. So like somebody from Russia, I actually approached. He was trying to find his way to the Imperial Palace from Ochanomizu Station, and he looked very lost. And I walked up to him and I asked him in Japanese, and like, where are you heading? And then he responded to me in English. He's like, I don't know any Japanese, I'm sorry. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I ended up walking him halfway to the Imperial Palace, which I don't know why he got off at that particular station, but in terms of like getting directions and stuff, Google Maps will help you out very well there.
I think that's one of the other big things about because I did a lot of traveling outside of where a lot of Americans go to, and I'm very, very fortunate that I did because I met a lot of very interesting, very cool people.
Hmm.
Like during the wintertime, one of my favorite things to do was to go up to the city of Anyang and go watch ice hockey,
Oh yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
I talked to a lot of people like over here or even Koreans, and they're like, wait, we have ice hockey in this country? Which, I mean, it's not really surprising talking to a lot of Americans who were over there. They're like, wait, they have they have an entire league over here? I'm like, yeah, they got three Korean teams or three Japanese teams, two Korean teams, a Russian team, and a Chinese team. And it was a lot of
Oh.
fun going to because I would meet people from those countries as well and have conversations with them because I was a fan of the local Anyang team, the Anyang Hala. And I was very fortunate because a lot of them spoke English.
Hmm.
When it came to the Russians, it was very broken English, but nonetheless, we had a fun conversation or two from time to time.
That is pretty awesome, and there's like that's something that you can bring up to somebody, and they had no idea that there was an entire like sort of East Asian league for hockey. They just thought, oh, that's something that's only like North America and Russia and Northern Europe. They don't really think of like, unless the Olympics are coming around and they're looking at national teams, they're not really looking into like ice hockey in South Korea or anything like that. I gotta wonder if
it's not. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I gotta wonder if North Korea is going to have a hockey team at some point.
They tried to do a joint team back during this past Olympics in where was it that they did it? Because it was in South Korea this past Winter Olympics.
Oh yeah, it was Pyeongchang.
That's right, and Korea got decimated, unfortunately, because I was looking at the South Korean national team, and it was a very, very good lineup. A lot of them from the team that I enjoy watching, the Hala, and also a couple of Americans who had come over and they became Korean citizens, a couple of Canadians as well. And I thought that they were going to do very, very well. Obviously, maybe not against teams like Canada or Russia or maybe even like Norway or Sweden or Switzerland or one of those countries, one of the more ice covered countries. But they did not do well, and I'm a little disappointed because one of my favorite players is on the team too.
Hmm. Were you able to see any of... Oh, wait. Shit. I got my timeline mixed up a little bit. I thought you came back earlier last year, but my timeline...
No, a little bit before that.
Yeah, so you weren't there when the Olympics were happening.
No, and I really wish that I was still there, but unfortunately I had to come back to the U.S.
Yeah.
Just left me over there. It would have been fine. It wouldn't cost you any more. Except a paycheck.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, no, so I missed out on that, but I have a couple friends of mine that took a lot of pictures for me, so I at least got to see that, which is really cool.
That's good. But
yeah,
yeah,
slightly off topic.
No, it's fine with it. That's what this is for. We don't have to be on topic for everything.
Right.
But yeah, I just remember when I came back here, and I love New Hampshire. I probably don't want to spend the rest of my life here, but I like New Hampshire. I like the mountains. I like being able to drive off to Portsmouth or North Conway, and it's just like I like New Hampshire, but we just have so little infrastructure here. And going from Tokyo to and just like the social atmosphere there, and just being able to hop on a train for like $10 and go all the way down to Yokosuka and Enoshima, where Enoshima is where Bunny Girl Senpai is set. So that was a major reason why I wanted to go down there, because I just like I enjoyed that show so much, and I just wanted to see the station where the main characters would meet up, and I wanted to go to Enoshima, which is a little resort island off the coast. And
I remember you sent me pictures of that, and I was like, oh, I actually recognize that.
Yeah, it's it was super exciting, but the whole thing was I wanted to get pictures of that train station because, like, in all the promotional art and stuff, you see that train station, it's completely empty. But I got there around, like, I forget what time it was. It was, like, somewhere around, like 4 or 5 o'clock. And just absolutely filled with schoolgirls. And I didn't want to be, like, that weird foreigner because it was the Enoden, the Enoshima Electric Railway. It's almost entirely in Japanese, while around Tokyo and, like, the main JR lines and everything, Yokosuka and everything, they have some English compatibility, but off in Enoshima, it was, like, the entire train line was entirely Japanese and stuff. But Shichirigahama is the station that I want to get pictures of. And it was just filled... Okay, wind. It was just filled with schoolgirls, and I didn't want to be that creepy guy who was taking pictures of schoolgirls and shit, but...
Yeah, that would probably be a little bit awkward.
Yeah, I was able to get a couple pictures, and a couple pictures of the little beach with the little stream coming out of it, and it was just super exciting to be there, and the whole thing that the anime doesn't really set you up for is that their beaches are all black sand.
Ah.
Yeah, so I get down and I'm like, oh wow, black sand. I guess there was like some sort of swell flood or something that happened recently, because we'd get that in Ogunquit all the time. But no, it's because it's all volcanic sand, because Mount Fuji is a few dozen kilometers out past there, but you can't really see it very well unless you get like the perfect situation. Actually, for people who are watching this at home, the introduction screen for the podcast has a picture of Mount Fuji as seen from the bridge going to Enoshima, and that was a super exciting picture for me to take. It was around sunset. But anyway, not to get off topic. Cool. All right, so now that we've got introductions and everything out of the way, I think we're due for a break. So
sounds good.
Yeah. Thank you very much for listening. We will be back shortly.
私ナンバーワンスタート始まる今日のステージチェックマイクメイク一緒一緒大会チャレンジスターダム光光るスポットライト眩しい輝きまっすぐデビュー夢は叶うもの私信じてるさあ位置について Let's go I'm ready I'm ready 歌を歌おう一つ一つ笑顔と涙が夢になるエンターテインメント I'm ready I'm ready 始めようやればできるきっと絶対私ナンバーワン交わした約束忘れないよ目を閉じて確かめる押し寄せた闇振り払って進むよいつになったらなくした未来を私ここでまた見ることできるの溢れ出した不安の影を
off we go into the wild blue yonder, lost again, son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch.
All right, welcome back to AsobiFM. So the topic for today, thank you for your fan service. We're going to be discussing anime fans, weebs if you will, in the United States military and how this came about, because this wasn't how it seemed to be back when I started getting into anime. And honestly, it's something that I'm very happy to see nowadays. So we'll start off back in the 80s, the sport of airsoft, which was using model guns that fired fire projectiles, the small plastic pellets, that came about in Japan around the 80s. And it was a bunch of people who were military otaku, people who enjoyed anime to a certain extent, but their major thing was not war per se, but the ideas behind the structure of militaries and things. And that was something that they found a lot of storylines in anime, from Space Battleship Yamato to other things. Can't really think of anything off the top of my head. Robotech. Well, it wasn't Robotech over there, but going over all those things, there was sort of a community of people who were very interested in military structure, military storylines and things. And airsoft sort of came about because gun culture isn't really a thing in Japan, but there is a sort of subculture of people who enjoyed having model weapons, mostly guns, like rifles and things. And after airsoft started to come about, they started doing military simulation airsoft, what we'd call it here. Over there, they call it survival game, or sabage. And that sort of branched off and became a little bit more popular as time went on, but it's sort of considered one of the fundamentals of the beginning of the otaku subculture, was this idea of people who enjoyed they're called military otaku, and you can consider them to be like sort of separate. Towards the beginning, they were sort of separate from the general anime otaku, who would be into less military-esque things, and very much separate from idol otaku, who were interested in idol groups more than anime or anything else. But as we've seen the sort of intermingling of the subcultures, it's something that came about a lot quicker in Japan, and I wasn't really going to predict that it would happen in the United States, especially to the degree that it has, because I started hearing about, for lack of a better term, weebs in the military, and it was shocking to me, and I actually was very happy to see that. And I remember before you started, I think you were either being deployed somewhere, or you were just out of basic training, and I tried to have you borrow my my DVD collection of the first season of Strike Witches, and you actually passed up on that. John.
Yeah, I think that was... I'm trying to remember exactly when that was.
You did not seem interested back then.
I honestly, I really wasn't. To be perfectly honest, back, at the beginning of the last decade, God, that's really weird to say. Back when I first joined the military, I didn't have too much interest into the anime community, or just anime or manga in general. It wasn't until I went over to the first time going to Korea with my buddy Jerry that he actually, basically, when we came back, sat me down and said, "You're going to watch this anime," and that was Girls in Panzer. And it was kind of a landslide from there. Basically, he was like, "Watch this show, watch this show, watch this show," and that's how I really got more into it then. Was because he would we would sit down and talk about World War II, and then that translated over to World War II related or even like World War II equipment related anime. And that's how he kind of got me into it more. And that, I think that was back after the Strike Witches. Because I didn't watch that until a couple of years later.
Because before you had even enlisted, we would do airsoft a lot.
Yes, all the time, every weekend that we could. God, I miss doing that.
If I could get my parents to let me get out of the house, I went with you guys.
And it was always great to bring you along too, because the fun stuff that you would do was just entertaining. Hey, Craig! Oh, hi! Damn it!
That's okay. That's the whole thing. Is that like I was still getting used to not being on the same team as you guys for that. And the whole situation was like, if I heard somebody that I recognized, I would try to go up to them, or I'd try to like respond to them, or try to see where they were, and then they'd just end up shooting me. And then there was
sorry about that.
There was no. It was a legitimate tactic. I'll give you that. But I just remember what's his name, Ruski. He swapped sides in the middle of the game and never told anybody.
Yeah.
And I see him behind me, and I turn around, and there's just like a series of berms that a bunch of us were behind. And this was, what was it, Stalingrad, I think?
Yeah, that was Stalingrad.
Snowy and like
Stupid
15
cold.
degrees, yeah.
Oh, it was
Stupid
colder
cold.
than that. I remember it was colder than that.
It was probably colder than that. All I know is that was how I learned that gas guns do not work in the cold.
No.
Because I took out the broom handle, and I'd get off a shot, and then the second shot would just be just a spray of CO2 or green gas, and then just a little dribble pops out. Like, okay.
Well,
but
even electric guns didn't work in that temperature.
Oh yeah,
because my firing rod snapped on my my PPSA.
Yeah.
It was just too cold for us to be out there. It was realistic, though.
It was realistic. We did Stalingrad in like negative temperatures, and then we did the next year Guadalcanal. And it was like 102.
Yeah, one of the hottest records one of the hottest days of the decade, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah.
At least up to that point, with 100% humidity. Oh yeah. What is wrong with us? But anyway.
Hey, I got a little trophy for being best dressed Japanese. So.
I think we won both of those.
Yeah,
both
we
Stalingrad
did.
And Guadalcanal.
That was the thing, is that back when Eric did giveaways at RPC, we always ended up either earning them or by sheer luck winning them.
Yes. And that's why everybody hated when the Shock Army showed up.
Yeah, because we'd get there, and then like we came there with what? We had 2 Thompsons at that point, and we show up to a game and then get a 3rd Thompson.
Yes.
In the raffle. It's like, oh, okay. And everybody's just looking at our team and we have like 3 Thompsons now, and it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that was fun.
Because we had the government issue, and we also had the Tommy gun with the drum mag.
Oh yeah, Jaren's weapon.
Yeah, and then we got the 3rd one. I think that one was another government issue too, and then we ended up getting a 2nd drum mag at some point.
Yes, and then old Tank himself joined the team and went out and got another Thompson. So now we're up to 4.
Did your dad have one too? I forget what your dad had.
Yes, he had one as well.
Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
I think we have 5 total now.
Jesus Christ.
They're just in a pile in a bag somewhere.
Yeah, we just have a duffel bag, like I hope you're
the broken AUG that I had.
Yeah.
All of the 1911s that we had, the broom handle. Well, no, because you still get the broom.
I
I think
I have the P226, the broom handle, or both of the broom handles, and the 1911.
I think we have a problem.
No, yeah, maybe. I'm just,
I already have one of these. Why not have two?
I'm just happy that when I finally got a real 1911, I got an ultra carry. So I'm definitely not going to be mistaking that tiny little thing for my actual airsoft gun. But
Yeah, no kidding. Especially when you go with the government issue one, it's like, why is this thing 9 feet long? It's a pistol.
Yeah, I have those in storage at my friend's house, and I need to get those out because I don't know how his basement is going. I remember he had some flooding issues last year, and I don't want to head over there and then just like have something covered in mold or anything like that. But
Yeah.
bleach will take care of that. It's plastic and metal, so.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of hoping the ones that are over in my storage unit are still going to be okay for the next time that I come back. Whenever that is.
Yeah. It was supposed to be what? It was supposed to be around Thanksgiving, and then it was around Christmas, and then it's like,
To be determined.
To be determined. If you can make St. Patrick's Day again, so for like, what, the second year in a row now?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen either right now.
All right, fair enough. Well,
unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot of...
If you do come back this year, just avoid doing it in May, because I have pretty much that entire month I'm going to be not in the U.S. at all, so.
Nope, fair enough. And I'll try and I'll figure something out. I don't know. Maybe September. Anyway.
All right.
Where were we?
Oh, yeah. We got sidetracked with airsoft and personal stuff, but, other than your experiences, I've seen a lot of, I'll see a lot of things on social media, and I feel like half of the people that I interact with on Twitter on a daily basis who are big anime fans have been deployed in some way or another. I've got a friend in Finland who's doing his service now. I've got a friend in Portugal who was sent somewhere into the Middle East, and I hope he doesn't get any sort of injuries or worse, just because our president decided to poke the bee's nest and then immediately back down from it.
I think the politics things is probably not a good thing to start getting into
personally.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, okay.
That's just me.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
You know my thought about talking about politics, but that's just me.
Oh, no,
but
definitely.
Yeah, no, I think I started to notice it a few years after I joined, in seeing more and more folks who were more into the anime and the manga subcultures. And I think it was because growing up, our generation, the kids that were born in the late 80s, early 90s, back 10 years ago, we're able to start, or back 10, 15 years ago, we're able to start enlisting. And I think that we're really the first generation that was very big into, I wouldn't say really big into, because you got folks like myself, but it became more mainstream to be able to sit down and watch an anime back when we were growing up. I mean, Cartoon Network had an entire 4-hour segment devoted to nothing but different shows.
Yeah.
It's, like very early on, I'm talking about things like Gundam and Dragon Ball, Yu Yu Hakusho, Samurai X, those kinds of shows back in the early 90s. And I think with our generation getting to the age where we can start going into the military, that the culture came with us, and it expanded from there, definitely.
I didn't really think about it in that regard, because like I remember in my high school there was sort of like a nation backdrop of people who were watching anime, and in that regard it wasn't considered like really weird to watch anime, but they were mostly Dragon Ball and Pokemon kind of people, and they weren't really into like the other stuff. But like I wasn't expecting to see an entire industry pop up of people doing embroidered patches, or cute girls doing cute things with guns.
Oh,
And
yes. I actually have a whole pile of them on my desk next to me right now.
I have an entire pile on my backpack, on the Velcro in my car. Every once in a while, I just break down. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go on one of these sites. I'm gonna buy like $40 worth of patches, which ends up being like 3 or 4 patches. But
Yeah, they're a little expensive.
they're expensive.
But I mean, for quality.
It's good quality, but the whole thing is like these aren't like major things. These are literally guys who are just like working out of their garages or even just their rooms at their parents' house, and they put in an order for like because you know that you can't get like one patch. You can't get an embroidered patch and just get one of them. You have to order.
No, you have to order them usually either 50 or like 100 or 200. I know because we've looked into it plenty of times.
Exactly. Yeah, you ended up getting a couple of chevrons for our airsoft team back in the day too.
Yeah,
I have like 15 of them in my car right now. So
yeah, I've got a whole pile in the desk drawer behind me as well. Oh yeah, we'll use 50 of them.
yeah, we were expecting to
Years
get a
later.
lot more people who were interested in our stuff, but it ended up being like, eh.
And then even we're like, eh.
Well, we could.
You're getting back more into it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there isn't a lot of folks around here that do it, so I'm not able to get back into the airsoft scene as much.
That's the whole thing. You're out in New Mexico, so you don't have any cover.
Yeah, exactly. It's just sand forever until you get to like, I don't know, Oro Grande, or if you're going over to Las Cruces or something like that, and then there's a mountain, and then there's more nothing. This funny little place that I live.
Mm. But yeah, just I actually have a friend who runs a podcast that I've been on a couple times, which is sort of an inspiration for me starting up this project, Time Enforcer Anubis, and like I think like something like somewhere between 5 and 10 years ago, like towards the beginning of the decade, and possibly even before the beginning of the decade, he ran a small project group thing called Taskforce M.O.E. And these were guys who they were taking sort of a tongue-in-cheek joke about how there seems to be a war where, because back in those days, cute girl anime was considered like beneath a lot of people. It was considered pedo shit, is what some people would call it. And now it's become much more normal, and you even have a lot of people who are active duty service or veterans who are into moe shows. And he was sort of one of the first voices to actually say, we're guys, we like cute girls doing cute things. Let's show that off by going to cons in full tactical gear with cat ears on our, like BDU cat ears and shit, so... That was...
I see nothing wrong with this, and in fact, I very, very much like that. I could just only imagine these, like... Sorry about that. Yeah, no, that's fantastic, and I never thought about that, honestly.
Yeah, they'd actually go around Connecticon down in Connecticut. They'd go around the convention center, like, doing tactical maneuvers, and they had airsoft guns and stuff. And I guess Connecticon was a lot more lax about their props than most of the cons I've gone to, because airsoft guns, they were kind of de facto banned at AAC, which was the con that used to be going on up here in New Hampshire, and they moved down to Massachusetts. Fucking turncoats.
Bastards, how dare they?
It was right down the street, and right down the street from me, and I could just have gone there. I could have walked there from here if they had done it there this year. But anyway, so you have that, and then you have Anime Boston, where it's like, if they can even imagine you hurting somebody with a prop, they will take it away from you. Like I've seen plastic flowers with prop check things on them. I've seen people who had to ditch their like pretty much a pool noodle and they had to put it in the prop bin because it couldn't be allowed into the convention center. So Anime Boston was like really strict on that. But I wish I could find another con where I could just have an airsoft gun, because I spent like a significant amount of money on a Hoa Type 99 or 89 for a ground self-defense force loadout, and I can only use that at airsoft games now, unfortunately. But
I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of surprised that you said that they were able to go to the con with airsoft guns, because at least like a lot of the YouTubers that I follow and stuff like that talk about going to the cons and doing their own, or just cosplay or whatever, or just reading people's stories on the internet. I always heard that it was incredibly, incredibly strict. Like,
yes,
it basically had to be made out of a dense foam, and that was your prop. There was not, like, even some places saying you can't have any metal. Hardened plastic was iffy at best. Wood was, like, apparently the spawn of Satan.
If it looks like a gun, don't bring it, is actually one of the rules that they had at Anime Boston. Like, if it looks like a gun. And
it's kind of disappointing, because if folks want to show up and they want to do, I don't know, like you said, like a Gate cosplay, or if they want to do something of, I'm trying to think of another like more modern day show, or like even Strike Witches, or like anything that involves actual firearms.
yeah,
Just even having something that looks like a weapon, or looks like a gun, that's, you know, made of a foam or a wood or a plastic that's very intricately detailed. That's I think that pushes it, because it's like,
yeah.
dude, it's not going to do anything. What are they going to do? Beat somebody to death with it?
I remember back a few years ago, somebody was doing a Yoko Littner cosplay from Gurren Lagann, and Yoko has this like 7-foot long sniper rifle.
Yes.
It doesn't look very gun-like, but it definitely looks like a gun, but it doesn't look like anything that somebody would say, "Hey, that's a real gun," because it's just so comical looking, and it's got like all this like caution tape all over it and everything. But
Right.
that was another reason why I was sort of surprised to see like an emergence of like military otakuism in the US, is because the convention like space has always been like mostly centered around like sort of humorous shows or drama shows and stuff, and you didn't really see a lot of like military stuff, and that fits in with the the props that you're allowed to bring into these convention centers. So like seeing things with like accurate guns, like the Type 64 from Gate, or you have the boys anti-tank rifle from Strike Witches and stuff, and you're not expecting to see that kind of stuff.
And
in a convention
with the more
center.
action-packed shows as well, you're going to see a lot more of it, whether it's, you know, modern day military, you know, modern being any from like World War II up to today,
Yeah.
or even the fantasy realm as well, because pushing the limits on certain things, like having a realistic looking sword or something like that, I imagine could also get pushed to the wayside.
Yeah.
There was a YouTuber that I follow, the Mighty Jingles. I'm sure that I've told you about him, but
Yes,
he
you have.
does cons every once in a while, and he dresses up as Gandalf. And even his staff, because it was like, I forget what it was. I don't think it was made of wood, but it was made like of a hard foam or something like that. But even they said that that's pushing it. I realized this is in Britain, which is completely different from here in the United States, but it goes along that same line as well, at least in my opinion.
All right. I actually going to do a slight diversion here, because I just noticed my chat has a few people, including Anubis. Hi, thank you very much for listening, man. We basically had $30 springers that we took the firing mechanisms out of and used those for when they brought airsoft guns to Kineticon. CTCon's prop check staff back in the day were actually pretty good about being able to tell if an airsoft gun's been properly disabled. That's something that I wish I could see that more nowadays, because like I can't imagine that you can go into a convention center pretty much anywhere in the country with anything that even remotely looks like a gun, and then they're like, "Oh, airsoft, I know that. Oh, I can tell that the spring's been taken out of this. That you don't have a mag in or anything like that. It's not an issue with anybody, but I can imagine that that kind of nowadays you just have somebody who doesn't even know what airsoft is, and they just see something that looks like a gun, and they're like, "Oh hell no!"
And I mean, it would be cool if folks could do that. Just like if I was to do, like if I ever came back home and if I was to do something like that, it would probably be in one of my many Soviet uniforms that I had, and I could just pull the inners out of the PPSH that I got. Not that it works anyway.
Exactly.
Kind
But
of like half of our equipment.
there's no way in hell that I'm going to be able to use my Type 89 anywhere outside of Japan for a convention, because that thing is full metal and very easy to mistake for a gun. I got it. I ordered it with 3-day shipping, and it was stuck in New York. Their customs facility for about a month and a week. And
Of all the cities that it could have gone to.
exactly. Well, they're the main USPS distribution center for the Northeast, so they are where all of the customs checks have to be done for New England, unfortunately. Also from Time Enforcer Anubis, I still have like 40-something Taskforce M.O.E. patches left over from back then. But yeah, that's
It's kind of unfortunate that they're not more of a popular thing. I mean, besides the few dozen that I have scattered everywhere in, across my desk and whatnot.
if you can get some sort of team logo design or something that actually has a little bit more appeal outside of just the context of your airsoft team or your group or anything like that, and you can sell them, you can actually turn a profit on these things. And I've actually considered attempting to go into that. I don't know. It's I always think to myself, oh, the market is oversaturated and everything, and I have like 6 or 7 people that I follow on Twitter and Facebook who run anime morale patch businesses, and they have to diversify a lot because sometimes they'll have a run of things that sells out immediately, and then nobody looks at their site ever again, so they have to switch up things because they have a very long turnaround time for these things, because it takes a long time to make 300 patches, and you don't know if they're going to sell or not, and you can't really do a test market or anything like that. But I've considered either trying to go into that business or seeing if I can't like get an offload of patches from these people and actually run a business through that or anything like that, because like I'd like to see shops like I see in Akihabara, where they have all these morale patches and stuff, and they also do airsoft and they also do anime stuff all in the same building. It's just like a hobby paradise kind of thing. But I'd want to do a brick and mortar for that.
I think like maybe a couple years down the road, something like that might become a little bit more popular, especially with how mainstream the anime community is nowadays, and with that, bringing in stuff like airsoft and whatnot. Maybe a few years down the road, but I don't think it's mainstream enough at this point in time, because people still get really confused as to what is anime.
Exactly, yeah. Like you can go into a convention center, and I guarantee you could make a killing doing just like military stuff and morale patches and stuff, and that's something that I don't really see in any convention centers or anything like that. It's that's
And
where
I mean,
yeah.
and that's also, that's also a certain niche of people. I mean, obviously, people go to these conventions because they have that love of either video games or anime or whatnot. So it's easier to do that there as opposed to just having a shop in, downtown Manchester, like you'd ever want to have something.
Yeah, there's an anime store in Manchester, Neon Bomb, and I remember they had to move a while back, several years ago. I don't know what the reason for that was, but they're actually downscaling their store now because they can't afford the entire space with the profits that they get. But I go in there and I'm thinking like, you could, if you just combined this as like a full on hobby shop with like airsoft and stuff as well, I'd go there all the time. Not that I don't go there all the time anyway, but
Basically combine it with something like army barracks.
yeah, that I remember like that was one of the first times I saw like cute girl morale patches was at army barracks. I was shocked to see they had this little line of like these cute. There was a nurse and for medics, and then there was a Valkyrie and everything. And I remember buying those. This was years ago, and I was just shocked that I saw that stuff because shit, this is right up my alley, man. But they don't really restock those kinds of things. And then like you look for those patches now, and they're marketed as patches for girls. Like fuck off with that.
Which that's disappointing as well, because unfortunately you're going to see a lot of that too for folks that. Well, I don't know, because it's been years since I've gone to the army barracks.
Oh, they moved.
But I did hear that.
Yeah, they moved. Do you know Chris's Cards and Comics in Salem?
Yes, I do know where that is.
They're in that same building, but
okay.
I don't know whether I like the new store or not, because it's definitely not as cramped, but there was a lot of charm to the old army barracks that I can't really see that now, because the new army barracks just feels like Salem, Mass, or North Conway. Because it's just like a wide open space that they have a whole bunch of shit that they just like throw out all this like domestic and foreign military surplus. But
there's nothing quite like being able to go in to try and look at American uniforms, and you're just kind of cramped over in the back corner.
Yeah,
amongst all of the olive drab that's every.
That like German tanker's uniform that was sitting there like for $80 for like 7 or 8 years. I don't know if they ever sold that. I know that thing was way too big for anybody that I knew, except for maybe Jeremy. But
yeah, maybe. But I don't think he would spend the money on something like that anyway, and not that he would ever use it.
Exactly, yeah.
That's another one of those, like, this is really cool, but is it completely necessary? I say as I look over and look at my Pickelhaube sitting on my desk.
That's the thing.
Completely necessary.
If I could find, like, conventions that were very, like, if they were open to ideas of having firearm-based props, but didn't want anything that like has been airsoft involved at any point in its lifetime. If I could think of something to do with like vacuum molding or anything like that, or making something out of even just like reinforced styrofoam or something like that, I definitely want to start making props based on like room handles or in the case of Gate, Type 64s, Type 89s and stuff. I'd want to make convention-friendly prop weapons.
And that would be really cool, because I guarantee that it would be a wonderful market, but the problem is just, it's not the people going out of their way to get it, it's the convention centers themselves.
Exactly. And that's I forget what prop it was. I had a prop at some point. It wasn't even a prop. It was one of those telescoping flagpoles. And I was doing.
I think you told me about that.
Yeah, I was doing a Concole Admiral, and I had a little rising sun flag that came out of my backpack, and I had a little telescoping flagpole for it. Friday, I go into the convention center. They're like, "Oh yeah, okay, we'll just put a little zip tie on this." Saturday, I go into the convention center. They acted like I had brought in a friggin' dirty bomb. And had a fit about it, and I had to talk to a Boston Police Department officer for like 10 minutes, and then they went through my entire bag, and then this dude tasted like he opened up my vape pen and poured out a little bit of the juice onto his finger and tasted it. And I'm like, that's
why?
He wanted to make sure. I don't know. I'm sorry. I started answering that question. I don't know the answer to that question. Like, I don't even know if that's safe.
Like, I don't. Well, I don't know. I don't I don't do the vape thing, so I
Yeah.
couldn't tell you. But I imagine that that's probably, just at least on one hand, absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
Because it's just, I'd imagine it probably doesn't taste the same way as it would going through, the actual vape process itself. It's just the constant, the condensed oil.
Yeah. It's propylene glycol, vegetable oil, and flavoring. Also, some nicotine in suspension.
So
And
not
it's
probably
not.
not going to poison you, but still.
If you get enough of it on your hands, like if you empty a tank onto your hands and then don't wash your hands immediately after, I've been in that situation and I get nervous as all shit. I don't know whether it's because I'm like hyping myself up because of like, oh, maybe I'll have some sort of health effect from this or something, or if it's just, nah, or if it's actually something that's actually affecting me. But I get jittery for like an hour afterwards. That's only happened to me twice, thank goodness. But still, people can have like a heart attack from this kind of thing. But yeah, he just grilled me on the vape pen. He grilled me on the friggin' telescoping flagpole, and then I had to come and pick it up later that day. And then Sunday I go in with the thing thinking like, oh, is this going to happen again? I was stupid for bringing it in, but they were like, nah, that's fine. And then also you'll go through a security checkpoint and they'll look through every little tiny thing, and you'll see like a pile of friggin' nail clippers that they confiscated from people. Or you'll go through another entrance, and then I take my bag off, and then I put it on the thing. And the guy looks at me straight in the eyes, and he's like, "Can I trust you?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Go on in." So there's no standard by which these people operate. Sometimes you'll have a cop who will just be like, "I think this is dumb that I have to search through your tiny little bag. I'll just open it up. Nope, there's nothing bad in there," and you'll just go. Or you'll get somebody who works for Securitas who feels like they're the thin red 3-dot line between total anarchy in the convention center and everybody being safe. But there's a lot of people who go through trips. Anyway.
Yeah, no, and especially how they just cleared you the day before. They're like, yeah, you're good. And then the very next day, despite the fact that you're using all of the same equipment and you were cleared
Exactly
the day before, and then all of a sudden now it's like, nope, no.
That's the thing. On Friday, it was a cop who personally did the inspection of my stuff and was fine with it. And then the second day, it was a Securitas guy who had to call over a cop who was like, I don't know, he was like looking at the Securitas guy having like a problem with me. I think this Securitas guy, he had the same reaction that guy at 7-Eleven had after we did the Guadalcanal game.
Oh, yep.
Where he looked at me in full Japanese Navy Special Landing Forces gear and said, "Are you guys doing like a Nazi play or some shit?"
Yeah. Unfortunately, ignorance is a very interesting thing as well. It can either be bliss or it can be hell.
And yet, when we go into that same 7-Eleven, like a year before, in full German and Soviet gear, they tried to give us. They asked us if we were going to use a veterans discount.
Yes, I remember that as well. Because there was somebody else that we talked to who was like, "Oh, were you guys coming from a reenactment?" Because that individual actually recognized that we were not wearing American-style uniforms.
Exactly.
Like, not even close. And then I think it was the cashier who asked that. And of course, I was already active duty at that time. So
and it was a female cashier.
Yes.
All the times that I was either mistaken for a German when I was not in German uniform, or the times where we were given military discount, we were almost given military discounts when we were in Soviet and German stuff from 70 years ago.
Yeah.
Those were all guys.
Yes. Just that, those high-tech wool uniforms that we wear in this modern day. And actually, I don't even know what our uniforms are made of anymore. I've got one over in the closet that I can look at, but that's way too far to walk.
That another side topic to talk about. I went to the Battleship Mikasa when I was over in Japan, and they were having a school field trip there, and all of the girls were super into all of the historical stuff. They're like, "Oh, this is where they raised the Z flag and Grand Marshal Togo ordered the fleet to attack from here, and they took pictures at the helm and everything, and they were super into it. And the boys were playing like Monster Hunter Mobile and Pokemon Go, and then like they were looking at a bug that was on the deck. It was all the girls who were super into the military stuff, and all the guys just didn't care at all.
Which is fairly surprising because typically over here in the US, it's usually the opposite.
Exactly.
Well, for the most part.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the whole playing on your mobile phone while, walking to a World War II museum or something like that, unfortunately, is way too common. But, it is what it is. That's, preference, whatnot. Where'd my coffee go? There.
Honestly, I think it's all those girls just really have the hots for Heihachiro Togo. He's.
It's probably what it is.
I'm just waiting for the time where there's going to be an Otome game where it's historical figures as Bishonen, and it's just going to be like a young Grand Marshal Heihachiro Togo, and all the girls are just super into it, and they end up flocking to the Battleship Mikasa just to get pictures on board their husbando's ship,
Could that not be a thing?
It might end up being a thing.
If it is, it is. It's whatever. But it's like, I can see that actually happening and becoming a thing, especially after this past year and seeing the KFC dating sim that came out.
Oh, yeah. But one of the interesting things is that you go to the Battleship Mikasa, which is the last surviving battleship from the Imperial Japanese Navy, not widely celebrated, but it's one of the most celebrated symbols of Japan's past, because it was during a war where the Japanese were the good guys and they won. But they have 3 entire gigantic rooms below decks on this battleship, and they're just filled with Azur Lane art. Because when I went there, they had just come out with the Azur Lane character for the Battleship Mikasa, and that was a big deal for them. So they had like all this stuff for Azur Lane, it's funny because Azur Lane is a Chinese mobile game, and they were advertising a Chinese mobile game on this ship that was like the symbol of Japan's Navy history. But other than that, what else was there on the Battleship Mikasa? Because I trying to remember what there. It's oh no, it wasn't even the Battleship Mikasa. The USS Iowa in Los Angeles, they have Azur Lane art all over the ship now too, which is really
that's surprising.
That is surprising. And I love all the memes that people are saying, like, imagine all like the kids going there with their grandparents and their grandparents, because that battleship was even used in the Gulf War. Whoops. I imagine them going on to this museum ship and seeing like all these anime girls everywhere, and they're like, "Wow, Grandpa, was it like this when you were on?"
Yeah, it was like that picture that I saw a while ago of what was it? Who was it? Oh, Chuck Yeager, and they're showing a picture of Charlotte Yeager to him, and he just looks disgusted.
He is okay with it. He became okay with it. But the whole thing is he's starting to become a little bit annoyed, because like every few months suddenly people realize, oh wait, Chuck Yeager is still alive, and he has a social media presence. Let's all flock to his Facebook and ask him if he's aware that there's a big titty anime lady based off of him. And yes, he is aware of it. He thought it was humorous. He kind of enjoyed it at first. But the people who keep on like going after him saying like, did you know about this? Did you know that Japan did this and stuff? He's like, okay guys, it's getting a little bit old and I'm getting up there in age and I'd rather not spend the rest of my life responding to things saying like, yes, this is how I feel about Charlotte Yeager.
Yeah, I imagine that can probably get very, very annoying. And the fact that he's one of the, few World War II aces that is still around today, just leave the man alone.
Exactly. He broke the sound barrier, and all you guys want to talk about is
titties.
Is titties. I bet Buzz Aldrin is just like super happy that he hasn't been featured in any sort of anime or mobile game as a cute anime girl, because that's all he'd be remembered for at this point. He's like, I went on the moon, but all you guys want to talk about is the fact that there's a big titty anime lady based off of me.
Oh, it's coming. There's going to be a reference to it in Dr. Stone or something like that, I guarantee.
Oh, they've already referenced a lot of space shit in Dr. Stone. Oh, have you watched Dr. Stone?
I have not, no. This is one of those shows that I know all about because of the memes.
Yeah. Dr. Stone...
Kind of like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yeah. Dr. Stone, so JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I don't recommend it to everybody, but Dr. Stone, I think that you'd really like Dr. Stone. But
it's on my list of stuff to watch. I think it was a little bit of the art style that kind of put me off at first, but I can look past art for a good story. I keep picturing the eyeballs on the opposite side of the head.
The guys are really well designed, and the girls, when you have like a full screen shot of just their face, they look otherworldly, but like wide shots where you're not centering on their faces, they look fine. It's another one of those things where it's like a lot of people dropped it just because of that one little thing. And I remember watching so many people drop Golden Kamuy because of the fire. The CGI fire and the CGI bear.
Yes, the CGI apocalypse.
That show easily, I'm still formulating what my top 5 are. I'd say Kill la Kill, Gurren Lagann, Golden Kamuy, Bunny Girl Senpai. I'm trying to think of a 5th one, but there's a lot of things vying for that spot. But Bunny Girl Senpai is definitely in the top 5. But Golden Kamuy is definitely in my top 5, and I'm super looking forward to the 3rd season coming up.
That's another one that I just need to sit down and watch. Unfortunately, I have a real problem with this, especially working on night shift, because like I get off of work and I'm just like, okay, now what?
It is a story of history and intrigue. It's sort of like the closest that you'll get in Japan to a Wild West scenario, and it's really great. It's got like Dances with Wolves kind of sprinkled into it as well.
I definitely did see that.
Yeah. I really like Golden Kamuy, and Golden Kamuy is another one of those things where in Japan, guys can take it or leave it, but it's the girls who are super into it. And that's something that will shock a lot of people, and people won't really notice that that's something that, or expect that to happen, but historical stuff, especially like male-dominated historical stuff, enjoys an extreme amount of popularity with Japanese women who watch anime. And you'll go to all these historical spots where you, like in the US, you go to a museum ship, or you go to a war museum or something, and you expect it to be completely male-dominated. But you go to historical museums, war museums, museum ships in Japan, and it's always dominated by women who are interested in seeing this stuff, and pretty much the only guys you'll see are either guys who were dragged there by their school group or their girlfriends or the people who actually work on board.
So basically, it's kind of like any time that you have to go to, like, I don't know, IKEA or something like that. It's just reference to going to a museum.
Yeah.
God, that confuses the hell out of me.
it's I think it's refreshing. I think it's a little bit, there's a little bit of concern there, because if you have a situation where I pray every day that this doesn't happen, but if you have a situation where Japan has to be on the defensive, like in any sort of military sort of capacity, you don't have a lot of guys who are interested in military hierarchy. You have a lot of women who are, and military history and stuff.
You solely base your infantry off of that.
I don't know. Like Japanese women, they might have over here they might have a reputation for being docile and stuff, but they can be real hard asses.
Oh, I believe it. I mean, again, from somebody who's never actually been to Japan, except for when I got stuck in the airport for 8 hours on my way back to Korea.
Was that Haneda or Narita?
Narita.
All right. So you were nowhere near Tokyo, unfortunately.
No, unfortunately not. And even if like even if I wanted to go out and explore or something like that on my 8-hour layover, this is back when I still didn't have a passport. I was just on military orders. I probably wasn't going to be allowed to leave the.
Oh yeah.
So I got to experience what little tiny bit of little tiny bit of culture that I could from an airport. But I met a lot of very interesting people during that time.
Yeah.
So I had a drinking party with a couple of random Japanese businessmen who were on their way back from New York. They were on the same flight, actually, now that I think about that. God, that was a long flight.
Yeah, that's like I when I began this podcast, I said, oh yeah, I can afford to go to Japan because I watch flights like a hawk, and once they dip below, like, you can get from Boston to Tokyo for $500 a ticket. Not easily. You have to watch those flights for months, but you can occasionally find a flight for that. And you're not going on a layover to Singapore or anything like that, which is good. But
that's impressive.
Yes.
Considering how flying from Seoul, at least, to Boston was on average $1,200, $1,300.
Oh yeah, that's the standard. But if I guarantee you, if you watch that flight for months and aren't picky with the dates, you can find something for around $500. It's not gonna.
I need to.
Yeah, it's not
to look at.
It's not gonna.
I'm due for a trip. Oh, sorry, we keep talking over each other. This is normal for us.
It is.
But go ahead.
Yeah, but you can probably find something for especially from the area you're in. You can probably find something if you just watch the flights for months. You can probably find something around 500, 600.
Yeah, it's definitely probably going to be my next big venture, because as much as I do need to come back home, I needed like an actual vacation and go someplace, like go back to Korea. That's my one big thing, or go to Ireland or Germany or Scotland or France or somewhere, just somewhere. I need a vacation. I need a vacation.
You definitely need a vacation. I complain about the monotony and everything, but a lot of that's self-imposed, and the fact that I hoard my vacation and sick days so I can use them for a 2-week trip. But yeah, I this coming year I'm planning on doing a lot more just to get out, you know. But yeah, that's anyway,
it's desperately needed.
So
We went somewhere. I'm not sure where we went, but we went somewhere with that.
Yeah. But one of the things that I talk about is like sort of the gap that's bridging between the Japanese anime fandom and market and the American anime fandom and market, and how we're starting to get into a lot of the same stuff. And some companies in Japan, like Aniplex, are realizing this, and they're starting to market their products in the same way that they market their products in Japan. They're starting to market them in the same way they do in the US, or vice versa. Like high quality collector's editions and things like that, where you wouldn't find that a few years ago when you were getting things from Funimation. They were trying to do things on the cheap as much as possible, which is something that's not really working, is not going to work out in the future, because people are going more to digital, and they'll only get a physical edition if it's a collector's edition, just to have yeah.
That or a series that they really, really like. Like, for instance, I've got an example sitting here in front of me. It's not really a collector's edition per se, but it's like a kind of a box edition of Girls Last Tour, because I absolutely love that series so much. And when I saw it, I'm like, oh, I definitely need to get that. Despite the fact that the only thing that really special came in it was the dog tag that I sent. I'm pretty sure I sent you a picture of it.
Yeah, I think that was a while ago.
Yeah, it was a couple. This was back in November, maybe late October. I don't remember. But yeah, the market for that is definitely more and more on the rise. And I think that certain companies are starting to realize it, but not more need to, because there's a huge market that's springing up across not just the United States, but it's becoming very popular everywhere, really. And again, even though it is only a certain niche of people that enjoy that otaku culture, it's still something that that I think that they need to get on a little bit more. That's just me. I don't know. But I definitely do see that it is becoming more and more of a popular thing. I mean, just finding little trinkets like this is, I mean, I enjoy it.
Yeah, that's... I have no problem with anime becoming more mainstream and accepted in the US. But my problems have been elsewhere. But that being said, it's like being able to see these fandoms sort of like merge, and how we can cross cultures on all this stuff, and it's just really, really makes me happy. Because even way back in the day when I first started out on this stuff, I wanted what Japan got. And enough of us want what Japan gets that it's starting to become something that you see over here, and I'm very thankful for that. But and that includes very much the whole military otaku thing. And it makes me happy to see people who are out in the field, and they have to deal with the stresses and the boredom and the firefights and everything. It makes me happy that something that makes me so happy and gives me a good feeling is something that's also helping them get through some tough times.
And it becomes more and more common, as each day goes on, because even though I'm no longer in, I still have to reconnect, obviously, with active duty folks, and I talk to them all the time as well. And it's become a lot more common than even back when I first started out, because even back then, when I first came in, it was basically, at least in my line of work in the maintenance career field, in aircraft maintenance, it was more common for, you only talked about like sports or cars or something like that. But it wasn't until a couple of years later, my second time over in Korea, where I actually started to talk to folks, and it became a lot more common, and a lot more common with people that I didn't expect as well. There was this one particular fella, if I'm remembering this correctly, who was more of like you wouldn't expect him to see him outside of the gym if he wasn't at work.
Yeah.
That's basically where he spent 24 hours. Anytime that he wasn't at work, that's basically where you could find him. But surprisingly, I learned a few things from him when it came to, like, again, I don't remember. This was some time ago, but it was like a friend of mine and I having a discussion. He came up and he goes, "Oh yeah, well, what about these shows?" And we're like, wow, I was not expecting that from you. I'm expecting you were going to try and peddle some old creatine on us or something. And it definitely becomes more and more commonplace. And I'm very much enjoying it because, especially now with ease of access, folks being able to get stationed in either Japan or Korea and being able to go to, down over to Tokyo and go to Akihabara and be able to find all of this stuff that you can't get in the United States and bring it back. And then you get all the Americans who have never really left. Like, where did you get that? How do I get that? I can't find this on the internet. Why? Unless you spend exuberant amount of dollars.
Exactly. That's it. It's just going to Akihabara, especially. There's things that I didn't even realize that I wanted that I suddenly needed, and you don't know like it's not just like, because there's a lot of fan made things like doujinshi and stuff. And it's not all pornographic, but it's all these things that you never even knew existed. You can't find scans of these anywhere or anything like that because it's just such a huge subculture. And you like going to Akihabara and you just see things that you would never expect to see. And it's and that's just like extremely exciting to find this stuff.
I gotta make it over there someday because my problem is I know that if I go over there, I'm going to have to bring an empty suitcase with me because I'm the kind of person that I cannot control. I need this and I need it right now. If all of the random stupid assortment of things around me is not apparent, obviously nobody can see that, but
here's what I'm going to tell you. 1, pack 2 suitcases, very large suitcases. It'll be preferable if one can fit into the other. 2, only pack one of them. 3, only pack one of them with clothes that you don't feel very attached to. Because you might be really tempted to just throw out some of the clothes that you brought with you. Because you just need more room. But 4...
I'll keep that in mind. Go ahead, sorry.
For most of these, these international flights, they'll let you have 2 checked bags up to 50 pounds in a certain dimension. They're usually very lenient with the dimensions for these things. But they'll also let you have a carry-on bag that is moderately sizable. But I'd definitely suggest getting those caster roller bags, and preferably if they're the solid walled ones, because they don't make it especially easy to get from Narita Airport to Tokyo. You have to be on trains or buses, and there's going to be a lot of moving around and station platform changes and everything.
Yeah, it's that luckily I've experienced that, so I understand that part.
Oh yeah,
something that the wonders of public transport. Actually, I really like public transport. I'm not sure why it's like, well, okay, the United States is all about their cars, so I can understand that.
Exactly.
But I loved it, like especially being over in Asia. That was one of my favorite things, is the fact that I don't have to drive to get to this place.
Mm-hmm.
All I have to do is sit down. I can watch television while I go there.
Mm-hmm.
What is this? I love it.
And it's like so much of Japan, like the entire country is, except for like say Okinawa or other places, it's just easily accessible by just plugging it into Google Maps and saying, I want to get from where I am here to this other place over here, and they'll give you a time span in which it's going to happen. They're going to tell you where the station is, what platform to get on and everything, and it works so seamlessly. And the best part about it, for Japan at least, is that when it says you're going to get there at 1:45 p.m., you're going to get there at 1:45 p.m.
Yeah, because I know that the train system over there is incredibly efficient, and actually probably the most efficient in the entire world.
Yes, they do have the record for that.
It was on an episode of Top Gear that I was watching it, of all things, back when they were doing a race across Japan. and they were explaining about how all of that worked, and they were saying that even if you're like a minute late to the platform or something like that, they give you a receipt saying you were late for this reason. Like if you're going to work and you were late for some reason, they give you an excuse slip.
Yeah.
Which I
And
thought was really cool.
when the train is a minute late or less than a minute late, like seconds late, it makes national headlines. It is completely different. It's just night and day, and that was what I was going over earlier. Going from Tokyo to New Hampshire, where there's no public transit. The city I live in apparently has a bus system that I've never seen.
This is news to me.
Oh yeah, Manchester has a bus system. They also have bus systems in Concord and Nashua, and
Concord makes a little bit more sense. Nashua, I wouldn't trust it.
yeah, I'm gonna have to get some welding done on my car, so I might end up using the bus system. But each of the cities has their own bus system, and they have express buses that go from Manchester to Nashua and Manchester to Concord. So I might end up using one of those to get to work at some point. But
the express ones make a little bit more sense because at least, we've seen that a little bit more often. I mean, all you have to do is just go over to it's either in Derry or North Londonderry to get down to Boston. You can take the
yeah, the
my
Boston
brain just stopped functioning. Yes, the buses. Thank you.
Yeah, the Boston Express buses. They go to. They're mostly just to go to Logan and stuff.
Yeah, much easier at least.
Yeah.
Which I keep forgetting about. Which means the next time that I come home, I should probably just do that, because that's probably going to be easier than having to try and get a lift back home every single time.
It's it costs like $20 to get from Boston to Londonderry and vice versa, like per trip. And that was the thing. Was when I went down to Yokosuka, it cost me like the entire trip cost me about $20. Like the entire round trip cost me $20 to go on the trains, and it was faster. And you to spend $20 to get from Manchester to Boston, let alone the same distance, which would have been Manchester to Fall River. It would have cost me about $60 one way. So
and I think that's probably because it's not commonplace for people to use any kind of public transport.
And
I mean, it's the same thing in Korea. Going from the Songtan station to Anyang station, it's about 45 minutes. There's probably about 9 stops in between, if I'm remembering correctly. And that costs, on average, 3,200 won, which is $3.25.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's basically the same distance. It's going from about Manchester to Boston.
God,
I miss it.
It felt like I was going into a second world country from a first world country when I came back. It was, and you were like one of the people who like if I talk to somebody around here about that, especially people who don't really travel very often, or when they do travel, they're in cars and stuff, or they're going to somewhere else in the U.S. They'd be like, "Oh, you're just whining. Oh, it's not that good. It's just because you were in a very well built area and all that stuff." And it's like, I talk to you, and you're like, "No, we are a little bit behind the times, and I understand why you're missing that so much."
Yeah, it's just they're a little bit more efficient. Then again, I hate driving. I absolutely hate driving. I was supposed to go down to El Paso yesterday from where I'm at, and that's about an hour and a half down, hour and a half back. And I just basically tried to riddle the amount of excuses as to why I don't want to do it. And the two of them was, well, I don't feel well and I don't have any windshield wiper fluid. Just to give you an idea of how much I was like, I don't feel like driving there. What can I think of to prevent it? Yes, windshield washer fluid. That'll do the trick. Now let me go sit in my computer chair for the next 12 hours.
That's it's really the same for me. I'm just like, I'm like, oh god, if I go out, I might have to go over the friggin' potholes that are all over the city, and it's gonna be more wear and tear, and then I'm gonna have to spend like 400, $500 to get something on my suspension fixed or something. Which I'm looking at having to do that anyway. But
And that's another thing. It's such a smooth like ride when at least on the subway or the train or
yeah,
whatever it is, wherever it is. It's I mean, besides the occasional bump when you go over a street crossing or something like that,
mm-hmm.
it's incredibly smooth. The number of times that I would, the number of few times that I actually managed to find a seat because the subway's always crowded. I would sit down and I would fall asleep, and luckily I would wake up right before where it is that I'm supposed to go, or pretty close to it, or one stop after, which that happened plenty of times too, going up to Seoul.
That
It's just so much more of a it just works so much better.
yeah, definitely. In my situation, I'd always be going between like in the US at least. I'd always be going between terminus stations. So I'd go from Boston to Haverhill or Haverhill to Boston. And the train's not going to continue on to another place. I would just go the whole line. So I had no idea that people could like time out their naps on these trains, and I'm like this girl fell asleep on my shoulder when I was going from Yokosuka, or not Yokosuka. I was going from probably Kamakura up to Shinjuku Station when I was coming back to Tokyo, and I was like, I don't know where this girl is going. Do I wake her up when we get to the place we're going and stuff? No, she woke up seconds before the train stopped at her station and then got off the thing. And here's the thing. Unless she was pretending to sleep on my shoulder because she liked me, she was legitimately asleep. And she just timed out her nap so like on to the second in order to be able to get a little bit of sleep before she got off the train.
Oh, and it's brilliant.
Or she just likes me. I'm assuming
It could be that too.
Yeah. I'm assuming I'm not going to be a narcissist here. I'm assuming that she was just actually sleeping and she just knows her rhythm very well, and she wasn't just crushing on me. Just some random foreigner in a flat cap.
Hey, you never know.
You never know, and I'm oblivious to this shit as anybody can tell you, but
It's okay. I know exactly how you feel. I'm the same way.
it's like, oh, time for my high school reunion, and to find out that 3 of these really attractive girls had crushes on me, and I never realized it.
My 10-year reunion was back in November. The first time I said that I was supposed to be coming home right around Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah.
And I only realized it last week.
Whoops.
Whoops. Oh, well, I didn't like any of those folks.
My reunion might be coming up. I don't know.
It should be. I don't know, because we went to different high schools.
Oh yeah, we went to different high schools, and your high school probably is a lot more on top of this stuff than my high school was, because like my 5-year reunion ended up being like only about like 50 or 60 people out of a graduating class of like 300 and something. So there's just a lack of interest.
5-year reunions?
Hmm?
Is that a thing? Like a 5-year reunion? Because I always know that like a 10, 20, that kind of a thing was more normal. Because I'd never heard, well, at least I haven't heard of it. But then again, I'm about as connected with keeping up with social media and all that crap as, well,
Yeah. I use Facebook for Messenger, and I check Facebook maybe like once a month, if even. And then like I actually time myself to see how far can I scroll through this before I become like unreasonably pissed off.
It's usually for me as soon as I open the app.
I think my record is about 8 minutes,
That's impressive.
and I was scrolling very slowly.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand all the social media thing. Like, I just made a Discord this morning for this, because, and this is funny. I don't know if I told you, but I actually mistook TeamSpeak for Discord for some reason.
Oh
Because
yeah.
I have a TeamSpeak that I have not used in 5 years for when I used to play World of Tanks. And I was like, oh yeah, I've got one of those. I just got to remember my password. This is not the same program. What is this? I'm so behind the times. And now, like, my mother was kind of griping to me because apparently the family uses this new social media platform, which is apparently superior, called WhatsApp. And I'm like, what is that? I don't understand these things. I don't have a Twitter. I don't have a what's that other one? Tumblr. I don't got a Reddit. I don't have any. I have a YouTube account, and it's not even a proper YouTube account.
Yeah, I only started. I only started like using my YouTube again for the first time in like a decade pretty recently. So other than that, it's just like, oh, I'll subscribe to people and then I'll eventually find their videos. I'll listen to something at work or something like that. But
Yeah, I do the same thing.
but yeah, forgot where we were going with this. But yeah,
I don't know. This is like every conversation you and I have.
no, it's a good one. It's a good one.
It's a typical Irish conversation. It starts somewhere, it goes somewhere, we don't know, and eventually we get back to point A, and then we go in a different.
Oh yeah, yeah. But one of my friends, he's in the Army National Guard, or he was in the Army National Guard, and when they sent him because he was going to Afghanistan, they sent him out with about 3 years worth of Shonen Jump issues and like 4 years of Shoujo Beat issues in like this huge friggin' Tupperware, not Tupperware, Rubbermaid container. And
Really?
and one of his friends was like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna get shit for this, you know, right, dude?" And then he's like, "No, everybody's going to be reading these in the barracks." So, and that's sort of when I started realizing, I'm like, yeah, this has gone sort of mainstream in the military, and I have no problems with that.
Oh yeah, and of course, we would still get really bizarre looks every now and again when we're sitting out in the break room, in the very few times that we actually get to take a break and talking about whatever the popular show at that time was. Like, I think this is around the time that Attack on Titan started becoming really, really big. So that was a very common discussion. And a lot of the older folks obviously will kind of sit back and be like, well, that's a little bit strange. You're talking about cartoons. But at the same time, a lot of them became very, very receptive to it as well. They were like, oh, well, I have no idea what you're talking about, but let me check it out. And then all of a sudden they become fans of that show. And then they start finding other shows as well. It's very, very interesting as the way that it went over the past couple of years. And now it's so common that, like, well, it's actually more uncommon for somebody, at least in my career field, to have not actually sat down and watched, at least 2 or 3 different shows or read a couple of different series.
If you have a lot of downtime, it's definitely like you'll pick up anything that seems like remotely interesting.
Oh yeah, I know a guy that well, you used to know. I don't talk to him much these days. That he liked reading. What was it? One Piece. I want to say it was One Piece. It was one of the bigger ones. But I want to say he liked reading One Piece, but he never watched a single episode of it. He never read anything else, but he enjoyed that series. Nothing wrong with that. I just found it kind of bizarre that it was like, oh yeah, no, I know about all of the, this entire huge subculture, but I just like this one little corner of it, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and
if it makes you happy.
That is normal in Japan as well. That's another thing that ties it back to the bridging of media tastes and and subculture is that like One Piece is pretty much a religion in Japan, in the same sense that soccer is a religion in Brazil. Is that you have a very large and very loyal fan base to One Piece. Not anime in general. You have tons of people who are into One Piece. And you'll see a lot of people around here as well who are like they're called monogamists sometimes, where they're like, I like anime, specifically only One Piece or specifically only Dragon Ball. And then you have other people who are into a broad range of anime who are also very much into One Piece, and that's Kim is very much into One Piece as well, but she's also branches off into other stuff. But like every couple years, suddenly she's on a complete One Piece binge, which is sort of charming. But she tries to talk to me about the stuff, and I'm like, I've only seen like 1 or 2 arcs, but okay.
That's more than me. I don't think I've watched a single episode of the show. Not that it's a bad show. I mean, I don't know. I think it's a very daunting task taking on something like One Piece with the 892 or whatever the amount of episodes that are out right now is. To be able to pick that up and start a series like that, at least for somebody like me, because I imagine that I'm probably a little bit more casual. I watch when I can, and I enjoy finding a little bit lesser known series, like whatever the one that I mentioned earlier that I still can't say the name of, the Invaders of the whatever that is.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Oftentimes I will be kind of disappointed, but at the same time, it's, I don't know. I think that, I'm not sure where I'm going with this because my brain just stopped functioning again. Please wait while we reload content. No, but going after like shows like a One Piece, I know is always going to be there, and it's going to continue to be there for I don't even know how much longer, because that train ain't stopping anytime soon.
Oh yeah, it is money being made, and that's the main thing that's keeping it going. Also, Eiichiro Oda, the creator of One Piece, I don't know if he's ever going to run out of shit.
Nope. And that's one thing that's brilliant about that, at least from an outsider's perspective of the series, is the fact that it, at least in my opinion, doesn't seem like it's very repetitive.
Yeah.
When it comes to its content. Again, I don't know because I've never really looked into it. But you have a lot of these shows that, not to specifically pick on like Dragon Ball, for instance, but again, from an outsider's perspective, because I maybe have seen some of Dragon Ball Z, and that's about it. This is something probably more in the lines of, Brian or Jeremy would probably know a little bit better. But it just seems like it's a little bit more of the same. Again, please don't hate me, people who enjoy the Dragon Ball series. If you like it, that's your thing. I mean, I like terrible shows as well. Not saying that it is terrible. I'm trying not to piss anybody off my first time here. But there are plenty of shows that I like that are going to be bad, but I enjoy them, and that's all that matters to me. And I think I wish more people would be like that, would be a little bit more receptive to that. I'm not sure, once again, where I was going with this. I need to put a buzzer on myself, and every time that I start going off, it senses that I'm going in some random direction. And I get shocked and then put back into place. Hard read.
No, that's I am daunted by long format things. If it's more than like 3 or 4 seasons and it's not something I already got into, it's going to be hard for me. And I haven't been there since the beginning for like Naruto or One Piece or Dragon Ball Z, all those things. And there's not a lot of appeal for them for me. And that's something I'll just have to live with, and like maybe I'll drift apart from some people based on that. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm just here for a good time, not a long time,
Yes, exactly. It's not necessarily a bad thing if you like a bad series. And I gave an example of this to a friend of mine is like a couple series that I like that are actually rather terrible when you think about it. Um, a series like I'll just go off of one of my favorites that I really, really like, which is like Girls in Panzer. If you look at the overall view of it, you're like, this doesn't make any sense. What is this garbage? But we still love it. Especially being like a history buff, and I love tanks. So right there, that instantly is just like, yep, okay, I like this. As I look over my best job I ever had patch. Did I show you that one?
Yes, you did. Yeah.
It's just whatever it is that people like.
I'm actually wondering. It seems like the Japanese market would be very like sort of untapped on that regard. Is that the morale patch thing seems to be a very Western centric thing, and I feel as if it's mostly just the language barrier that's becoming sort of overcome within the last few years and stuff. But I feel as if those would definitely make an absolute killing if they had more of that in Japan, because there are some things like morale patches or hooded sweatshirts and things like that where you don't see them when you're over there. And if you do see them, it's usually in like foreigner-centric things. Like, do you know the Ahegao hoodies and the Ahegao sweatshirts and stuff?
Yeah, I know about those.
Side story, I was walking down Elm Street, and there was a dude who was just walking up Elm Street with an Ahegao hoodie on, so...
You know what? I gotta give it to somebody who would actually wear that out in public. I gotta give you props, because there is no way in hell you would ever catch me wearing something like that.
Exactly.
I mean, anything bright, I even refuse to wear like bright things anyway. I'm always wearing olive drab and blue jeans. I mean, this is fairly normal for the two of us at least.
Yeah.
But flashy stuff like that, especially something like that. It's just like, why? Why would you do this? But you know what? I'll give you props.
I go out every day. I'm wearing the same thing. I'm wearing tan khaki pants, a t-shirt with a buttoned up flannel. It's always buttoned up. I never have my t-shirt actually showing. And on top of that, I'll either put like my Byuko Matoi Sukajan or my Ground Self-Defense Force camo shirt. And I wear some sort of cap. And the cap is where all of the action is going on. Everything else is just like, take it or leave it. You look pretty normal. And I think that's... Even going out like that, I feel a little bit uncomfortable, like people are going to stare at me in the grocery store and stuff, and I get a little bit of like social anxiety from that. But I couldn't imagine just going out in an Ahegao hoodie like that. Like, that seems like some mind-broken shit right there.
Yeah, no.
But the Ahegao hoodies are entirely a Western concept. You don't see anything like that being sold in Akihabara or anything, and if you do see any of those in Japan, it's always the places where they're trying to sell to foreigners, and it's always lower quality stuff. So it's generally an immigrant running a stall at Takeshita Street in Harajuku or somewhere else. It's never like a mainline thing that you see in Akihabara or anything like that. The Ahegao clothing is not a thing in Japan at all.
And it doesn't surprise me, because they at least have a little bit more dignity than some of us over here.
Exactly. Like, here, if you want to, for some reason, like, show that you're a weeb, you have to go all out. You have to wear, like really loud clothing. But in Japan, there's sort of a shorthand that, like, if you're wearing jeans and a plaid flannel, and sometimes you might have, like, some sort of, like, plain color bandana that you're using as a headband. That is pretty much like how you advertise that you're an otaku.
So basically, 95% of New Hampshire.
Pretty much, yeah. Like
Minus the headband thing. That could be replaced with just a ball cap.
it's a ball cap, like a Red Sox cap, or a camo cap, or a camo Red Sox cap.
Yes.
But yeah,
that is incredibly accurate.
I don't know if you know much about Lupin the Third.
A little bit, but not a lot. Like very, very basic.
Yeah.
Minimal.
So it's been going on for about 50 years now, and they have sort of shorthand for what era Lupin you're talking about, based off the color of his jacket. Like you have like green jacket, red jacket, pink jacket. He did a movie where he was doing a black jacket, and I was trying to figure out why he was wearing a black jacket for the longest time, but it really fits into the movie, and it hit me like a ton of bricks when we figured it out. But I feel as if my Lupin shirt, my Lupin coats are my hats. So I'll think back, like, how long ago was that? I end up thinking, how many hats ago was that? And I have like a sort of a timeline of like what cap I was wearing and for how long. And
Same.
But like I say, the hat is where all of the action is going on in my sort of day-to-day loadout. Because right now I'm wearing a Digicam blue Maritime Self-Defense Force cap. And before that, I was wearing. Actually, you bought this for me on St. Patrick's Day. The flat cap.
Oh, the scally.
The scally. And I actually wore that the entire time I was in Japan. There's actually a few pictures of me wearing it, but
yeah, I think I remember seeing them up on Facebook.
Yeah, but when I head back out there again, I'm probably going to be continuing to wear the Maritime Self-Defense Force cap until I find something different, which I think it might end up being the Ground Self-Defense Force cap. There's a shop very similar to Army Barracks, but a little bit more higher quality and unfortunately much higher price. It's called S&Graf, and they do Japanese modern military stuff, Japanese older military stuff. They do British, American, German, French, and not really friendly with foreigners would be their Nazi stuff.
Yeah, I think that's generally anywhere.
Yeah, except for East Asia.
Yeah. I mean, that and like the hardcore like history buffs or reenactors as well.
Yeah.
That's fine. That kind of thing.
It's a thing that all these friggin' white supremacists have ruined it for all the history buffs and reenactors and stuff.
Yeah, I know. Bob talks about it all the time.
Like years ago, like back in my M43 tanker cap days, I could wear an M43 tanker cap and I wouldn't feel like somebody was going to say that I have some sort of like political affiliation based off of this wool German cap I was wearing. But nowadays, like, I don't even know where my German cap is because I'm just like, I would not wear that anymore at all.
It's not just the German stuff too, though, unfortunately. You also have like even American stuff. People look at you sideways because they just don't know. Like you know my old tanker's jacket that I have, my American tanker's jacket from World War II.
Yeah.
That I wear out every once in a while. I've actually basically just hung that up because it's fallen apart and it needs a lot of repair.
Mm-hmm.
But even back then, like folks would give you sideways glances as to be like, well, is that, is that like German or Soviet or something like that? I'm like, no, but I mean, I can understand you not understanding because it's just a piece of olive drab cloth.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. Anything historical, people can look at and be like, well, I don't know what that is, so therefore it must be bad.
Exactly, yeah. That's
unfortunate is what it is.
It is unfortunate, but the good thing about having a cap is that if you're in if you think you're going to be in a situation where you're going to have to deal with that kind of crap, just put the cap away.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. I have been accused of stolen valor on several occasions, and even though I make it a point to never wear like American military stuff or military stuff from like more recently, like the only modern thing that I have that I wear fairly regularly is my Ground Self Defense Force uh, jacket, and that's it. But like when I was wearing German Flecktarn, somebody tried to accuse me of stolen valor. When I was wearing a Japanese Special Naval Landing Forces uniform that has been used in 70 years, there was this white woman who was accusing me of stolen valor at a Trader Joe's. I've been accused of stolen valor on Twitter as well. I had a picture of myself in that Ground Self Defense Force jacket, and they said that I was doing stolen valor there. Like,
People are dumb.
People
I
are
think is
dumb.
what it boils down to.
What
But it's not just like civilians that get confused by that as well. I don't know. I'm not sure if you were there that day. It was one of the few times that I came back home and we were out in Portsmouth and I was wearing my Irish Defence Forces jacket, which has a very clear Irish flag on the sleeve.
Exactly.
And that old Army vet came up and started talking to me for a couple of minutes when we were on our way down to the Irish shop. And you know, and he was like, I saw that you were wearing our uniform and this and that, and I'm like, this is Irish, but yes, I mean, I can get away with it a little bit easier considering how I am a vet, but it just comes down to people not really being educated in that.
Yeah.
I mean, camouflage is camouflage. I mean, people wear BDUs all the time. None of them have ever been in the military. It's just, if somebody likes camo, you're not wearing a uniform. That's what it is. You're not in full uniform.
Exactly. I remember.
And that's what it comes down to.
I remember, like, when I was much younger, I was actually wearing American Woodland camo. And I made sure to distress it to a point where it's like, hey, this isn't a uniform. Because my grandfather kept on saying, they're going to accuse you of stolen valor and stuff. Like, I had no rank, no affiliation patches, anything like that. There was nothing like that on that, and I still got shit for it. And like, the whole thing is, Woodland hasn't been used since the mid 90s.
Pretty much, yeah. No, that's not true because they started phasing out Woodland. You could officially no longer wear it after it was the 20th of October 2012.
Oh yeah, because
it was the 1st of October 2012. But it was that time frame because I remember going through basic. I was one of the first generations of the classes coming through that did not have the option for BDUs. We could only wear the ACUs, which are the ugly, crappy digital tiger stripe shit.
But yeah, I actually that was another thing that I've heard about, at least, is a lot of people who were on long-term deployment and stuff, or career people, they didn't get. It wasn't like the military was just like, okay, we're switching over to a new camo, so we're going to give you all new uniforms. No, they went with what they came there with. So I can imagine there were a lot of people who were still wearing Woodland even in 2012.
Oh yeah. For the most part there was, and it wasn't if especially if they're going down range. I keep forgetting I have to hold this stupid button. But especially if they're going down range, they're not going to have the BDUs. They're going to have the back then it was the DCUs. That's what they were called. Wow, that hurt. But it was the DCUs, the Desert Combat uniforms, and there was at least a couple of folks that I remember who still had them well after, but that was, again, because they never got issued to them when they came back. At least as far as I can remember, but that was a while ago.
Yeah, war isn't some sort of glamorous thing that they throw millions of dollars at each soldier to be the best equipped force in the world. It's just like, you got what you came here with, and unless it breaks down to the point where you can't even sew it back together, then you're just going to be wearing the same thing.
They can be a little bit better about it, just depending on whatever particular situation that you're in. Like, if I had a pair of boots that would fall apart, they were usually pretty good about making sure that I had a new pair of boots in a decent amount of time.
Yeah.
Or they would just tell me to go buy a pair from the PX, which is a little annoying, but yeah, definitely had to do that for.
Yeah, how much was that setting you back to?
Oh, just $129 usually for one pair.
And yet stateside, you can probably get them for like 60.
Oh no, they're still just as expensive. Like, you can get cheap boots, but let me tell you, especially in my job, you don't want cheap footwear because you're on your feet typically. Well, not the job that I'm currently working at the moment in time, because I'm a desk jockey at the moment, but being out on the line, that was having a good pair of boots that is comfortable, that you can stand in for 8 hours, was definitely a must. So splurging and spending that $149 or however much it was so worth it. Saves your feet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lessons that I learned over years. Stuff I wish I paid attention to, but we did that thing again.
Yeah, we did. Thank you to the
if there is anybody still watching, I greatly apologize, at least on myself, because I'm usually the one that starts it.
Thank you to the 4 people who are listening to this and hearing about boots.
Yes, very impressive things, of which I'm pretty sure it's actually only 3, because I think one of them is me.
I'm just wondering when the recruiting officers are going to start using anime to try to get people to enlist. God knows they have no pride.
Yeah, I don't think necessarily that, well, okay, anything is possible in the world of recruiting.
Hey, kids.
But there is definitely some stuff that I have seen over the years that the military tries to, like, oh, we see that this anime thing is really popular. We should try something like that, and it usually ends horrendously.
Yeah, they'll end up doing like some sort of like Chris Hart style gigantic ugly eyes kind of thing.
Yes,
actually, like the Nightmare Miku.
I have an example, actually.
Oh boy.
I don't remember if I ever sent it. No, I did send it over the group chat, but this was years and years ago. This is when I was still back in Korea, and it was Misawa Air Base in Japan was doing a cosplay event. Basically, they were trying to do their own version of a Comic-Con or something like that. And the art that they used, I'm not sure why they did what they did, but basically they took a blues uniform, our Class A's, and for security forces of all things, and they put it onto a female character that was actually like a furry wolf.
Okay, yeah.
Do you remember when I sent that back a while ago?
I do not remember this, but I'm envisioning it, and I can imagine.
Why?
I'm actually gonna send this to you. It's an image. Hold on. So this one actually made everybody in Japan and the US groan. This was during the disaster relief efforts after the 2011 Tohoku disaster, and the US actually had a full-scale military operation to give assistance to Japan. It was called Operation Tomodachi, and one of the images they used for it was like this weird cocky eagle taking a tiny like owl in a sling under its wing, and everybody thought it was just like the most ugly ass thing, and they had no idea why they were using it as part of the morale boosting, because it seemed to be like doing the exact opposite.
They could have done so much better.
Exactly, yeah. But well, what was the line I was gonna say? Oh yeah, hey kids, do the Harlem Shake over to your nearest recruiting center.
Oh my god. I mean, that wouldn't surprise me either. And I think somebody actually in the chat said something about they've seen army like recruiting booths at cons.
Oh yeah, oh
And
yeah.
part of me is not surprised at all. I mean, again, I don't go to cons and stuff like that, so
Yeah.
that does not surprise me. But I can tell you that we have a lot of very like big events, at least throughout my area of New Mexico, and whether it's military related or not, you will have a tendency to see a few military sort of organizations there. Like something that we did back a while ago, at least between the town of Alamogordo and whatever, I think it was Tularosa or something like that. They had like this marathon, and the Veterans of Foreign Wars, the VFW, posted up a booth there. We were the only ones. And I have no idea why, because I was the one running the booth.
Oh.
And it was the beginning of April, I think last year. It was raining sideways. Luckily, we had a canopy set up so people could at least hide.
Mm.
That was a very interesting experience. No, I am not the registration booth, was probably the most common thing said that day.
I can imagine, like, I can't imagine you in any sort of, like, public interaction situation where you're dealing with people that aren't really knowledgeable. Because I think the only customer-facing job you ever had was when you worked at the restaurant.
Yeah, and luckily I have become at least a little bit better when it comes to talking to people, especially when they're, I'm not going to say uneducated, but we'll just say silly. How about that? We'll just go with
Okay.
silly. And I've gotten a little bit better with that. And especially with the position that I have now out here with the VFW, I have to do a little bit more interacting with the public, which is, as you said, it's very, very strange. And I don't see myself for doing it very well, but apparently I do okay at best.
All right. Well, I can imagine you've gotten pretty good with that.
It's actually a course that we have to learn when we go through Airman Leadership School, ALS, which is public speaking and whatnot, which is never been my strong suit, but it is what it is. I had to learn it, and then I didn't actually go through that class, so it was all wasted effort anyway. Hooray.
All right, another thing from the chat here. Time Enforcer Anubis, thank you for listening. I have seen the Army, etc., having booths set up at a few anime cons. I believe Anime Boston had the Air Force last year. The Air Force had a thing at Anime Con, and I'm just wondering when they're going to start actually trying to tap into that market and how horrendously it's going to go, because we've seen the self-defense forces do it, and they do it very well, but
I mean, unless an Air Force recruiter somehow manages to get a partnership with something like, I don't know, Gurley Air Force, where they have, F-15 and F-4 or Eagle and Phantom and whatever the other one was. I forget the Swedish fighter there. Unless they're going to use contract characters like that for a recruiting booth, I see it going drastically bad.
Yeah, they're gonna have to step up the game on quality for that kind of stuff.
Military grade, it doesn't work.
I've had to explain that to my mom several times. Oh, this is a military grade camping toilet. It's like,
so
it
probably fell apart before it even got to the field.
Exactly.
Yeah. Military grade is something that anytime that I hear that, I usually cringe at. Like, my favorite one was when Ford recently was coming out with with their military grade aluminum chassis, and I just sat there and laughed. First of all, aluminum, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Don't slap military grade onto anything. It doesn't make it better.
I can imagine an aluminum chassis would be really good for places in like more winter areas because I'm currently dealing with some rust mitigation on my Suzuki, but like at the same time that's going to crumple like nobody's business.
Yeah.
But
Well, some scientist somewhere said it was a good idea, so we'll roll with it.
a military grade aluminum chassis means they're going to expect you to only be using that truck for the next 35 years and not be able to replace it.
And parts are going to be horribly expensive and scarce. I wish I could be joking about this stuff.
Not nearly to the same degree, but the postal service is going through the same thing. They're the LLV, which is what people call mail truck, or yeah, people will call the LLV a mail truck. It's that standard kind of van thing. It's right hand steering, all that.
Yeah.
Those were only supposed to last for 30 years, and they put them into service in the late 70s, and they have no plan to replace any of them. And you can actually go on I think there's a Facebook page or a subreddit or something, and it's literally just LLVs on fire. And they have so many pictures of these mail trucks just absolutely engulfed in flames. And we have...
I think I've seen a few of those.
I think they have a contract with some Turkish company to do a replacement fleet, and that's not going to roll out for another 10 years, but like maybe this time they'll actually get heating and air conditioning in the mail trucks for when these people are going out for 8 hours a day delivering mail, but who knows? It's the federal government.
Incredibly government-related organizational thing, isn't it? It's good enough, we'll keep using it.
Will it get off the lot? As long as it gets off the lot, it's not our problem.
Exactly. Something I wish that we could both joke about. Anyway, we did that thing again.
Yep, we did. No, it's pretty standard. I knew what I was signing up for here, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry. Sorry, wow. Just had a coughing fit. Sorry about that.
Oh, all right.
I wasn't sure if my mic was keyed or not.
What were we saying earlier? If you start coughing into the microphone, maybe the 4 people who are listening to this stream will actually get enough people together to actually get the VA funded more.
Something going for the VA. Start the movement. This is where it begins.
We're depending on you, all 4 of you.
I guarantee that at least one of these people just got it on in the background and just listening to the two of us idiots just going back and forth about God knows what. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'm actually kind of surprised. I don't know. I don't know how this whole streaming thing is supposed to work, so I couldn't tell you.
Not me neither, but I think 4 is a pretty decent number of people to be listening to something live. Especially on a Saturday afternoon. I mean, you could be doing a whole host of things.
I think a Saturday would probably work better than a Sunday like we're doing, but...
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just surprised that we've been at it for almost 3 hours.
Oh, geez, yeah. Oh, holy crap, wow. But, yeah, as for the future, do you think this is just sort of a fad, that you're not going to be seeing this go on for much longer? Like, having the weebs in the military or anything like that? Or do you think this is something that's, like, here to stay long-term?
I imagine it's probably going to be more of a long-term thing. And a couple of factors into that, the fact that military folks can very easily get stationed in Japan, which means they can continue to build on a build on a subject, or not a subject, but an entire culture that they've been a part of, whether they started watching back in, elementary and middle school and starting off with shows back then, or even if they've just started getting into it as they're going into active duty or as they're already active duty. Ease of access is a lot easier. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, just another example is how easy it is to just be able to sit down and watch whatever show that you want. There's a dozen different streaming websites that you can use to watch thousands of different shows. I mean, I can go and pull up Crunchyroll right now, and I could find pretty much anything that fits a particular genre that I like super, super easy. And they're not the only ones that do that. Obviously, like Netflix and Amazon have their exclusives as well. And that's something that very much right there keys it up, is the fact that these big streaming services go and get these contracts for, an exclusive to their website, saying clearly it's getting more and more popular all the time. Unfortunately, you have to sift through a lot of the less good stuff to find those gems.
Yeah.
But again, I'm getting off topic from it, but I don't think it's gonna go anywhere. If anything, it's only going to continue to grow. I know that every single day I always talk to new folks who are like, oh yeah, no, I like anime, and these are the shows that I like. And we go back and forth about different series that we enjoy, and we might give each other recommendations. And these are folks that are 10 years younger than I am and stuff like that.
So what I've sort of learned talking to you about this, that I never really thought about before, is that the major factor in it seems to be the demographic shift. That there's a lot of younger people who are coming into the military who grew up with this as sort of a background thing, and now that they have like a situation where they're amongst people who might be like-minded, or might be bored, or might be looking for some sort of escape or something just to look forward to, it's that they'll start to be more interested and more invested in this stuff. And I never really thought about it in that way.
You get folks from all different walks of life too. I mean, I have served with some very, very interesting people over the years, and both good and bad ways. Obviously, you're not going to like everybody that you meet, and a lot of us still have very, very common interests, and whether or not we actually sit down and talk about it is one thing. But it's definitely an ongoing, growing culture, and with more and more folks coming out with new content every single day, whether it's a new light novel series that could be popular 10 years from now, or up and starting anime series that nobody has ever heard of and gets super, super popular. Like I could think of a couple of different examples for it, but just with the continuing on of the industry growing, it's only, I think, going to get more popular. And whether it's just not normal folks, but just you're at everyday Joes out there, or whether it's military folks who are just starting out with the experience or whatnot, it's going to continue to grow, continue to be a bigger and bigger industry.
Mm-hmm. Let's I'm just happy that something like this can bring such joy to people of all walks of life. Whether you're going through having to deal with the Karens and Steves in your retail job, or you're legitimately in an active war zone, that these people can all just come together and enjoy anime and manga like this. It's something that I'm looking forward to having this be a part of these people's lives, and just help them get by a little bit more. All right.
Oh yeah.
So, gonna go on one more break, and we'll wrap up after that.
Perfect.
ナンバーワンスタート始まる今日のステージチェックマイクメイク一緒にショー大チャレンジスターダム光光るスポットライト眩しい輝きまっすぐデビュー夢は叶うもの私信じてるさあ位置について Let's go I'm ready I'm ready 歌を歌おう一つ一つ笑顔と涙は夢になるエンターテイメント I'm ready I'm ready 始めようやればできるきっと絶対私ナンバーワン交わした約束忘れないよ目を閉じて確かめる押し寄せた闇振り放って進むよいつになったらなくした未来を私ここでまた見ることできるの溢れ出した不安の影を何度でも咲いて
All right, welcome back to AsobiFM. For this final segment, we're just going to quickly go through the Crunchyroll Anime Awards, which a few people might have an issue with me going into this, but it's a high-profile thing, and it's generally always a shit show, so it should be good for a few laughs.
I mean, if last year is anything to go off of, and obviously this comes down to, with all due respect to like My Hero Academia, they won everything.
It's a popularity contest.
Yeah,
It's not always gonna go over, and we have a lot of people who are just going for the popularity contest. So, but the thing that I will give Crunchyroll credit for is they're not just going off of anime that they have on their website. They'll also do things that are exclusive to Netflix and exclusive to other websites like Funimation Now and stuff. So it's not simply just Crunchyroll stuff. So for Anime of the Year, what would you think would be Anime of the Year for 2019?
well, out of the options that they have here,
No, of all the
just
anime
in general.
In general.
I don't know. That's kind of tough because there's two shows that come to mind, and if we're not looking at this, the two shows that come to mind are probably going to be either Demon Slayer or Fire Force. But Fire Force for me, I think, is a little bit more biased because I've been looking forward to that series for a very long time.
So we've got Vinland Saga in this, and Promise Neverland, which is not bad. I don't know anything about O Maidens in Your Savage Season. Mob Psycho,
if I'm honest.
Never been interested. Carol and Tuesday, I haven't actually heard about that, even though it's a Bones thing. I imagine Demon Slayer winning this, with Promise Neverland being in a close second. Best protagonist, we have Emma from The Promised Neverland, we have Hyakimaru from Dororo, Saitama from One Punch Man, Senku from Dr. Stone, Tanjiro Kamado from Demon Slayer, and Toru Honda from Fruits Basket?
Yeah.
Oh wait, yeah.
Yeah, they redid the series.
Oh wow, okay. Huh. I've completely forgot about that. Okay. But I imagine Saitama, like, I'd want Senku from Dr. Stone to win this, but I'd imagine either Saitama or Tanjiro would be winning that.
Yeah, and I'm kind of the same way. I'm going to assume it's probably Saitama that's going to end up winning it, just because, I mean, it is an incredibly popular show. It's very, very funny.
Yeah.
And Saitama is an absolutely fantastic character, despite the fact that he looks so simplistic in that photo that they chose. That's the whole point. So, yeah, I could see Saitama winning that one.
So, antagonist, I don't recognize any of these except for Isabella from Promise Neverland and Overhaul from Hiroaka, but we have I Magase from Babylon. Apparently had a scene in Boston. That's another sidetrack thing. Angela from Carol and Tuesday, Askeladd from Vinland Saga, Gato from One Punch Man Season 2, Isabella from Promise Neverland, who is creepy, and Overhaul from Hiroaka. I'd imagine that Overhaul is going to win this. I'm not sure about Gato from One Punch Man.
No, I could. From what I understand, and again, this is just me hearing from an outsider's perspective, apparently this Overhaul dude is not very popular in a good way.
Boring.
He is.
He's hateable but boring. Like, it's not something I talk about very often, so maybe some people will be shocked to know this, but I am up to date on Hiroaka most of the time. I'm a couple episodes behind right now, but it's something that I watch every time it's out. But Overhaul, I think, has been easily one of the most bleh villains. So that's one of those ones that I'm not gonna really go into. All right, so we have nominees for Best Boy. We have Bruno Bukirati from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. We have Hyakimaru from Dororo. Kanata Hoshijima from Astra Lost in Space. Naruzo Machio from How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Lift. Shigeo Mob Kanagayama from Mob Psycho 102. And Tanjiro Kamado from Demon Slayer. If Demon Slayer Boy isn't winning this, I think Naruzo Machio from How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Lift is going to win, because he's one of the most funny characters in this past year.
See, the only one of any of these that I've actually seen, again, because I am usually years behind on a particular series being popular, is Demon Slayer. So,
So I think Demon Slayer might win this, but I don't know if the JoJo people, I guess you could just call them people. I don't know if the JoJo
they're
fans,
a strange little section.
Yeah, I don't know if the JoJo fans are going to be coming out in force for this or not. But we have Best Girl. All right. Carol from Carol and Tuesday, Chiaka Fujiwara from Kaguya-sama Love is War, Emma from Promised Neverland, Kohaku from Dr. Stone, Nezuko Kamado from Demon Slayer, and Raftalia from Shield Hero. Raftalia, this is going to be... Ooh, this is going to be close.
Yeah, I'm going to go and put my money down on Nezuko, just because of the fact that out of all of these characters here, outside of like the more hardcore, I guess you could say, anime folks, anime fans, Nezuko was everywhere.
Yeah.
Everything that could be anything had Nezuko with it. I mean, even like what was it, the one that I saw, Uber Eats, where she delivers the food for you. It's like she was everywhere. So I'm gonna put my money on Nezuko.
She's a good meme character, and she's from one of the most popular things from this past year. But Chiaka Fujiwara has a lot going for her. Kohaku,
she has a very devout following.
Yeah, Kohaku, out of all of these, Kohaku I think is my favorite. I think that she might enjoy a pretty good running. And Raftalia, I think Raftalia is definitely in the running for first. I think it will be somewhere between Nezuko, Chiaka, and Raftalia. Or Chika, sorry.
Honestly, I think it's probably between Nezuko and Raftalia, because even though Chika is amazing, and she's probably my favorite character on this list, or she is my favorite character on this list, those two got way more, like, not screen time, I'm going to say, but way more popular. I see them way more than I'll see Chika, and I think it's because Rising of the Shield Hero and Demon Slayer were the most popular probably of 2019, in my opinion at least.
Oh, yeah. All right, so we have Best Director. Tetsuro Araki from Attack on Titan Season 3. Yotaka Suzuki from Babylon. Nichiro Watanabe and Motonobu Hori from Carol and Tuesday. Yuzuru Tachikawa from Mob Psycho 100. Kunihiku Ikara from Sarazanmai, which... Oh, what Sarazanmai is? And Shuhei Yabuta from Vinland Saga. I don't feel as if a lot of people are going to be paying especially close attention to Best Director here, even though I think it's a very important thing if we want the Anime Awards to actually mean anything in like a meaningful sense.
Yes.
But I don't see a lot of people voting in this, but I saw season 3 of Attack on Titan, and other than that, I haven't seen any of these, so I can't really come at this with like a very like knowledgeable situation, like that's a good director or not.
Yeah, and I think that's my problem, because I haven't actually watched any of these, so I'm even more of a deficit.
Yeah, all bets are off on that one. Not even gonna. Nominees for Best Animation: Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan Season 3, Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba. I'll go over the studios for this. Attack on Titan Season 3 by Wit Studio. Demon Slayer Kimetsu Yaiba by Ufotable. Fate Grand Order Absolute Demonic Front Babylonia from Cloverworks. Mob Psycho 102 from Studio Bones. Sarazan Mai from Studio Mappa. And Vinland Saga from Wit Studio again. Once again, I haven't really seen much of this. It's just like between the two of us, maybe we've seen 2 of these.
Yeah, honestly, again, because the only one that I've actually sat down and watched is Demon Slayer. I gotta say that the art style in that is absolutely fantastic. And this is one of those cases that you could honestly say that, because I've read at least a little bit of the manga, and everybody always says about how the manga is way better than the anime in most cases. In my case, this time it's kind of flipped because the animation in it was spectacular.
Yeah.
And again, this is just my opinion. And I don't know if necessarily it'll win. Again, I haven't watched a lot of these other ones. The Fate series usually has very, very good animation. But I don't know. We'll see on that.
Yeah. I'd imagine that Demon Slayer is going to win this only because I haven't seen a significant amount of hype over the animation of any of these others. And I spend a lot of time on Twitter, and I've seen Demon Slayer praise for the animation a lot. Attack on Titan Season 3 might bring it up on the as the second best, but vote for best character design. We have Tsuneyoi Saito, original character design by Eisaku Kubonouchi. Carolyn Tuesday. Toshi Iwataki, original character design by Hiro Sada for Dororo. Yuko Iwasa from Dr. Stone. Yuko Yahiro, original character design by Akasaka. That's a tongue twister for me.
That's tough.
Akasaka. Kaguya-sama Love is War. Kayoki Ishikawa, original character design by Migi for Sarazan Mai, and Takahiko Abiru, original character design by Makoto Yukimura for Vinland Saga. Dr. Stone, unfortunately, their girls are not good. I really like the character designs. It's just I feel as if, judging by the community, they're not going to enjoy the fact that the girls look like aliens. So I think that's out. Dororo might be showing a good. I'd imagine that Dororo might be winning this one.
Yeah, I'm not really too sure myself. Again, because out of all of these, the only one that I've seen is Love is War, and I like it's nothing to write home about. I mean, the characters themselves are great, and the series itself is great, but I think you might be right with the Dororo.
Yeah. Because I have seen some praise for Dororo. I'm actually surprised that Demon Slayer didn't make it into that category, because it's been in all of the other categories. But
that's probably the reason why. They're probably like, okay, we need to take it out of somewhere. Because, I mean, it was the same thing last year with the My Hero Academia. It was in everything except for, I think, Slice of Life, and that's where I was happy because Girls Last Tour won.
Yeah, even though I guess Girls Last Tour is Slice of Life.
Yeah, I was kind of confused by that myself, but hey, you know what? A win's a win, I guess.
All right, so best score, we have Hiroyuki Sawano from Attack on Titan Season 3. I am a fan of Hiroyuki Sawano's work. He's done a lot of really good stuff. He's done a few things for Trigger, including the Kill la Kill soundtrack and the soundtrack for Promare. So if I would vote for that. Maki, who did Carol and Tuesday. Goshina and Yuki Kajiura from Demon Slayer. Tatsuya Kato and Hiroaki Tsutsumi and Yuki Kanesaka for Dr. Stone. Yugo Kanno from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and Kevin Penkin from Rising of Shield Hero.
Spot the one that's different.
Spot the one that's different. Yeah, that's something that I've noticed a lot, is that, like, in terms of, like, billing, a lot of Westerners are finding a very strong foothold in doing soundtrack work for anime recently. So I'd imagine that Rising of Shield Hero might do a very good running in this. Hiroyuki Sawano for Attack on Titan Season 3, definitely good in the running. And I haven't watched Demon Slayer, but I don't know what your opinion of the soundtrack
It was really
in that?
good.
It was really good?
I very, very much enjoyed it.
If
I don't think it's probably going to be the top contender, at least in my opinion. Especially how there is a show that is basically about music in there.
Yeah.
I don't know how good of a show Carolyn Tuesday is, but if it's like many of the other, this is basically all about the music kind of show, that I have a sneaking suspicion that might be up there.
I couldn't really tell you how I felt about the Dr. Stone soundtrack. All I know is that the English songs really put me off. So
yeah, like a little cringy.
Yeah. I'd imagine that this is going to go between either Demon Slayer or Carol and Tuesday, but I'm not sure if the Netflix exclusivity of Carol and Tuesday is going to affect the ratings they have on the Crunchyroll Anime Awards.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the big things. Like you were saying back at the beginning, I like the fact that they include a lot of these other services that have their exclusive shows, but they're not going to get the same coverage as somebody who only watches Crunchyroll.
Exactly.
Which is a little unfortunate, because there's some great series that are out there that aren't on Crunchyroll.
Yes, and go ahead.
Just going off of like last year's winners, the biggest one obviously being My Hero Academia. I know that it's an incredible series and that it deserves all the praise that it gets. But there's a couple of other shows that were out there that were like a Amazon or a Netflix exclusive that I think probably should have gotten a little bit more coverage. But because it's exclusive to that platform only, nobody's ever going to see it. Same thing with Girls Last Tour.
Mm-hmm. All right, so next up we have nominees for Best Fight Scene. Emperor Crimson versus Metallic from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Levi versus Beast Titan, which was a big deal in Attack on Titan Season 3. Mob versus Toichiro from Mob Psycho 102. Tanjiro and Nezuko versus Rui from Demon Slayer. Thorfinn versus Thorkel from Vinland Saga. And Ushi Wakamaru versus Tiamat from Fate Grand Order, Absolute Demonic Front, Babylonia. What was that laughing?
I'm sorry, just as soon as you got, like, great pronunciation, like, everything else was great, and then you got to Thorfinn versus Thorkel, and it just stopped. That was fantastic. I just the almost physical recoil I could sense from you was perfect.
I need to actually watch Vinland Saga because it might be pretty good. And
yes, it's been in every category pretty much.
Yeah, that and Mob Psycho and Hiroaka, which Hiroaka hasn't really had a. Was Fat Gum in 2019? I don't know.
Which one? I didn't.
It was a Hiroaka thing.
Oh, okay.
I think that fight scene ended up happening after the turn of the year, so that wouldn't be in the running. But
yeah, that would still technically count as the 2018 season. So, well,
I
don't know about these ones, just because, again, only seeing half of them. I did watch the Levi versus the Beast Titan.
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I've seen the Demon Slayer one of Tanjiro and Nezuko versus Rui. That was really, really, really good. But because I haven't watched these other ones, I actually have to click these buttons. There's a button that says watch on the side.
Yeah.
But I don't want to spoil the series in case I want to go and watch it as well. So it's like, crap, yeah. I'm torn.
So I'd say that Levi versus Beast Titan might.
Yeah,
I
with
would.
the with the uh, with the huge popularity of Attack on Titan, I'll probably go with that myself.
Yeah. All right, so we have best couple, Baki Hanma and Kozue Matsumoto from Baki. I haven't seen Baki or heard of Baki. Kaguya Shinomi. Wow, I messed this one up. Kaguya Shinomiya versus Miyuki or versus.
I mean, you could say versus if you've ever watched the series.
Okay, yeah, it is called Kaguya-sama Love is War. Okay. Kaguya Shinomiya and Miyuki Shirogane from Kaguya-sama Love is War. Mafiu Sato and Ritsuka Uenoyama from Given. They are gay. So are you. Reo and Manabu from Sarazanmai. Rika Zonazaki and Shunamagi from O Maidens in Your Savage Season. And Ymir and Historia from Attack on Titan Season 3.
I'm noticing kind of a trend here.
Oh, yeah. So, because we're not over the whole, like, gay couples are just couples, get over it kind of deal, I would imagine that there's going to be a very strong showing for all of the same-sex couples in this. My vote would be for, like, if it went my way, I'd say Ymir and Historia would be a good one. I will probably vote for Ymir and Historia because I don't know any of these other ones. But I'd imagine that Kaguya-sama's Kaguya Shinomiya and Miyuki Shirogane might show a good showing, but
if for the diehard fans, definitely.
Yeah.
And that's where my vote went as well, just because just watching the relationship between the two of them was absolutely fun. And the entire series is hysterical. I laughed my ass off the entire.
But
So, yeah.
I think that it might be between Kaguya, this couple Mafiu and Ritsuka, for obvious reasons, and Ymir and Historia. I'd say between those three. Best performance in Japanese: Mamoru Miyano, who did Reo Niboshi from Sarazanmai. Saori Hayami did Shinobu Kocho from Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba. Yuichi Nakamura, who did Bruno Bucciarati. I said this earlier, I guess. I don't know. From JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Yukino Satsuki, who did I Magase from Babylon. Yuko Kaida did Isabella in The Promised Neverland. And Yusuke Kobayashi from Dr. Stone. I can only tell you that Isabella and Senku both had really good voices, and based on what I know, I would say that one of those two would definitely win. But I haven't seen the rest of these. I don't know how Saori Hayami is in Demon Slayer, but
I really liked her character. Incredibly cynical, but also very, like, chipper. Just to kind of give you an example, she would be the kind of person that would tell you to go to hell and you would enjoy the trip. That kind of to give an Irish proverb out there.
Isabella from The Promised Neverland. Isabella from The Promised Neverland, she had to do a character who had to be maternal and loving to children, but also sending them to literal slaughter. So, and she had to deal with the stresses of having to deal with her clientele. And she didn't have.
I imagine a very tough role to fill.
It was a very tough role to fill, and I think she did really good in that. But Senku was done by Yusuke Kobayashi, and Dr. Stone was also gave a really good performance. So I'd imagine it's between Demon Slayer, Promised Neverland, and Dr. Stone on this. Do we want to do?
If we ever get more mainstream, we're probably going to actually have to sit down and watch these sometime, because we're just sitting here half the time just like, I don't fucking know what this is.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if I wasn't employed, maybe I'd know more of this. But all right. So, do you want to do the best voice acting performance in English?
Well, considering how I can pronounce most of them,
Um,
uh,
I
sure, I guess.
I
Maybe
don't
not.
watch dubs. I haven't watched dubs in years. But you have
Neither do I.
Kyle.
That's the problem.
Yeah, so we wouldn't really know anything. The only name I recognize from this is Erica Mendez. So,
That that one and the only other one that I recognize is Faye Mata,
hmm.
and that's only because I did actually watch a little bit of the Konosuba dub,
Yeah,
and I think she did a pretty good job. So,
hmm.
but other than that, I don't watch dubs.
Yeah.
Wait, did they come out with a new Evangelion?
No, that they the oh god, you'd have to be in for a huge history lesson. I'll tell you for another time, but it's the original
All right.
Evangelion. But so we have nominees for Best Comedy: Agretsuko Season 2, How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Lift, Isekai Quartet, Kaguya-sama Love is War, My Roommate is a Cat, and Sarazan Mai.
Finally, a category where I know some of the titles. This one is going to be interesting, and Agretsuko, I think, is probably going to place a little bit high on there. It doesn't have to compete with Konosuba this year,
Yeah,
so that's probably going to be pretty much up there. I don't know, like, how funny the dumbbells is,
it's
uh, only because I haven't talked to a single person that's actually watched it. They just make memes.
I haven't watched it either. I want to watch it because it looks like a great comedy. I'd imagine it's gonna do a strong running. Isekai Quartet, I think, just because people love referential stuff and it's all just referential stuff.
It was I actually watched it, and it was not something that I could sit down and watch the entire series of in one sitting. I could only probably do about one episode at a time,
Yeah,
but it was still very, very funny, and I definitely enjoyed it.
I'd imagine it's going to have a strong showing. I'd say that Agretsuko might win this one, but if I'd imagine if you were voting, maybe Kaguya-sama would be your choice.
Yes, definitely.
All right.
Again, it was because, like, just seeing the way, like, I don't have you watched it?
No.
I highly recommend it because just watching the entire, like, planning out of how, like, the master plan of each episode goes between the two main characters there,
Hmm.
and then just the way that it usually ends up ending is absolutely phenomenal, and I laughed the entire time. Not as funny as probably Konosuba, but still up there as being pretty good.
Hmm. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check. All right. Nominees for Best Fantasy: Ascendance of a Bookworm, Astra Lost in Space, Attack on Titan Season 3, I guess is set fan. Demon Slayer, Sarazanmai, and Promise Neverland. I wouldn't really consider Attack on Titan and Promise Neverland to be fantasy per se, but I can't really think of another way to put it. But
No, I get what you mean. One
Astra
thing that
Lost in
when I saw
Space.
this list,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say
Th
Astra Lost in Space looks like just sci-fi to me, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, and that's what it looks like to me. One thing that I am very, very surprised, and going through the fantasy genre as well, like Demon Slayer, it kind of fits. But one thing that I'm kind of surprised is not on here would be like Rising of the Shield Hero,
Yeah.
because that's straight up like when I think of more of a fantasy thing, I'm thinking more of like that era of like history and stuff like that.
Hmm. So
That's that's just me though.
the thing is that these are chosen by judges and not by like popularity or anything like that. And the judges unfortunately are they have to deal with, or they are well aware of the way that a lot of these series are perceived. And unfortunately, Shield Hero has, among the Western anime journalist crowd, it has a very, very poor rating because it deals with subject matter that they do not feel comfortable having, including, I won't get into it, but there is a false rape accusation in the show, and that drives a significant amount of the plot. So that causes a little bit of issues for them. I'm not surprised.
So it's the whole controversy thing that's gonna. Okay, yeah, no, I understand. I don't understand, but I understand.
It would make sense that it didn't get a nomination, even though it probably is more of a fantasy than Promise Neverland or Attack on Titan. But I'd imagine that Demon Slayer would show a good showing in this. And maybe Promise Neverland, because Promise Neverland had a lot of appeal to a lot of people. Best Drama. We have Babylon, Carol and Tuesday, Fruits Basket, Stars Align, Promise Neverland, and Vinland Saga. I think Fruits Basket would have a lot of clout in this. Also,
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people who absolutely love that series, and it's basically back just with a pretty skin on it now.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. Promised Neverland I know was very, very popular, and apparently the Vinland Saga, which we both apparently need to watch because it's been in almost every single category. I don't know because I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I can't really make a... Wait, hold the fucking phone. Promise Neverland double dipped for Best Fantasy and Best Drama.
Yes, it did.
Huh. Okay. So
If we come to realization.
I'm still noticing the Shield Hero absenteeism in Best Fantasy even more now.
Yes.
Best Opening Sequence, Carol and Tuesday, Kiss Me by Night, VR.XX, and Selena Ann doing...
Can't just put normal words in there, can we?
Bahi JD from Carol and Tuesday. Domestic Girlfriend, Kawaki no Amiku by Minami, done by Shota Ihata. Inferno by Mrs. Green Apple.
That is probably my favorite opening. I'm sorry, but I'll come back.
Go ahead.
That. I know you're still talking about it. No, that one was so good. It was so good, and it fit the show so well. But anyway.
I'd imagine that's going to win. 99.9 by Mob Choir featuring Sajo no Hana by Yoshimichi Kameda for Mob Psycho 100. Touch Off by Overworld. Kazuaki Shimada from The Promised Neverland. That's going to show a big showing. I know that is very well liked.
Yes.
Ukanjo by Survive Said the Prophet by Takahiko Abiru in Vinland Saga. So I'd say it's between Fire Force and Promised Neverland.
I could agree with that. And I mean, the only reason why is because I haven't seen it overly put, like a lot of these other shows, I haven't seen them overly put into stuff. And that's usually how I can tell if it's popular or not, because they'll take the music itself and put it into other anime. Not actually doing that, but people making their own fan-related stuff.
Yeah.
It's such a catchy tune. I love it. And I really hope that it comes out on iTunes at some point in history, so that way I can download it and listen to it more.
I think it will.
I hope so.
Hope you like the Fire Force ending too.
Not as much. Also, just back to the real quick, the opening sequences. I'm very surprised that Demon Slayer is not on here. I mean, I get it; they're in every category, but the opening for Demon Slayer was fantastic as well. But anyway, ending.
The thing is, and I'm gonna say this at the end. I'll have something to say after we finish this off, but the best ending sequence, we have Hold Me Now by Nai Burks again, or BR.XX, and Selena Ann by Yoshiyuki Ito from Carol and Tuesday, Sayonara Goko by Amazarashi by Osamu Kobayashi and Dororo, Veil by Keina Suda by Taiki Kono of Fire Force, Chika to Chika Chika by Konami Kohara. Also by Naoya Nakayama from Kaguya-sama Love is War. Stand By Me by the Peggies from Kayoko Ishikawa, Sada Zanmai, and Torches of Aimer?
Bye.
Torches by Aimer from Toshiyuki Yamashita of Vinland Saga.
Do we want to go actually off of like what's actually decent, or are we going to go off of the memes?
We're going off of both.
Okay, if we're going to go off of like the actual like, okay, the music is actually good. I haven't heard Torches or Stand By Me. I imagine though probably again the music anime plays into a big of that. I did like the closing for the most part from Fire Force. I don't know. I'm kind of torn on it. But if we're going to go off of memes, we already know what's going to win.
Yeah.
Do we even need to explain it?
No. All right. So, I'd say it's between Fire Force and Carol and Tuesday, only because, music anime.
Yeah, and because we don't know the rest.
Yeah.
Because we're terrible at this.
And that's it. There's no best movie, because that would definitely be one hands down by Promare. And what I gotta say,
I haven't seen that one, but why don't they have a best movie this year?
I don't know. Probably because there's not like 6 movies that would be well known in the West.
I mean, they've got a couple though. I mean, Konosuba came out with a movie, which is abundantly popular. What else came out this year? Black Fox came out this year. That one was really, really good. I enjoyed that. I unfortunately don't have my list available to me of the like other movies that have come out, but there was a couple of other series that came out with movies this year as well, I believe. I don't know. Whatever. That's what they do. Leave them to it, I guess. They're the professionals. We're just the 2 idiots that sit here for hours on end talking about it.
Yeah. So yeah, I've said this before, and I'll say it again, and I will say it every year that Crunchyroll does this. This is a popularity contest. It's definitely not something to judge how good this everything is. We're going by decisions that judges made, and these judges are, some of them have affiliations and motivations behind what they choose or don't choose. So if you don't see the thing that you enjoyed here, that's fine. And it doesn't mean that it's going to be taken off the site or that it's going to be removed from public consciousness. You could see a lot of popularity in the future. It could be really good. It could be objectively good, and it's just not here, and that might piss a lot of people off. And don't look at the Crunchyroll Anime Awards as the be-all end-all of recognizing good things. Obviously, they don't take a lot of things into it. And every year, it's always a joke, so it's fun to just laugh it off, honestly. And
it's one of those things that it's more fun to tune in to make fun of more than anything else.
Yeah.
And yeah, they do take it seriously themselves, but I think those of us who are out here that like a little bit lesser known stuff realize that our shows are hardly ever going to be up there unless it is one of the big popular ones. I mean, unless you're going to like a show like Konosuba or Demon Slayer, one of those super popular, over the top, this is the best anime of the year in every category, shows. Unfortunately, those of us who like lesser known stuff are always just going to get kind of shoved to the wayside.
Yeah, and it's a medium that's just so full of things, and anime is just so much going off of so many different things, and things that you really enjoy won't get the recognition that you expect or think that they deserve. And that's fine. It doesn't have to be always popular. Just enjoy the things that you enjoy. We can't have the anime awards are a joke, unfortunately. But I think that's one of the good things about anime is that there's something for pretty much anyone. And anime can be for anyone. Just they'll have to come up with their own tastes, and they'll have to formulate their own experience. And what they like and what they think is good isn't going to always be reflective of what everybody likes or what the community in general likes, because there's just so much out there.
And it keeps growing every year.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to making fun of the Anime Awards.
2021. Looking forward to making fun of the anime awards again. All right.
Just might as well just put it on our calendar. Make fun of day.
All right.
Yeah.
So that will just about do it.
That went on a little bit longer than I expected. But it was fun. I enjoyed that.
Oh, I really appreciate you coming on for this. And sticking around.
I look forward to doing this again, as long as everybody doesn't hate my guts. The four of us who watched.
I think people are going to be asking me a lot more about you, and they're going to want to be able to talk to you a little bit more.
Oh boy.
All right.
Interaction with people.
That was AsobiFM. I am Shinden9.
I'm Sean.
If you want to get in contact with me, I am on Twitter at Shinden9. If you want to get in contact with the show, it is at AsobiFM. Both of these are on Twitter. If you want to get in contact with Sean, you are shit out of luck.
Sorry.
And if you're interested in more talking about otaku business and hobbyist stuff, especially as it pertains to the Japanese subcultures, you can catch me again probably next month. If you want to get in contact with me for the show, you can email me at Gmail, shinden9biz@gmail.com. If you're looking for another similarly themed anime and otaku podcast, you can check out NTR Radio and look them up on YouTube. You can find them on Twitter at ntr_radio.com. I really appreciate you for listening. I really appreciate having Sean on.
I hope to do it again soon.
Yeah. And I will end this by saying, John, thank you for your fan service.
And I appreciate your support.
All right, we'll see you guys around.